There you go.
Welcome, misfits, to this episode of Skeptic and Ranting. Among Us. Tonight, the Skeptic crew watch an atheist give a speech to a graduating Christian high school. And did someone feel a draft? Is my spleen missing? I'm sure it'll be fine.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong of Skeptic Fun?
So let's give a nice warm welcome to Oz, our guest host tonight. Amy, you're on mute still.
Double muted. I keep on
Every time.
like zombies every time. And okay, I want to thank everyone out there for joining us out in the inner tubes. If you're feeling fancy, don't forget to like and subscribe or follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can also find our Patreon page at patreon.com/Amy Newman, which helps us make more awesome content, including awesome Patreons like KO Champ and the Atheist Round Table, which is now Tang, which is even, you're feeling tardy, you're feeling tangy, you can all mix it together. Woohoo! And Ian Davenport. Woohoo, Ian. Grumpy old cuss. Diana Smith. Woohoo!
Darth Dawkins not on the list yet?
And Darth Dawkins. He's also. Lastly, don't forget to hit the like, follow, or all button icon so you can get live reminders. And with that, tonight we are joined with none other from Oz, from the Atheist Round Table, and now Tang, to watch a counter apologetics lesson to a group of Christian graduate students. So will his arguments stand scrutiny? Let's find out. James, Oz, are you ready for some fun?
Oh, let's do it. We got Oz here. We got Darth Dawkins' nemesis. We got John Maddox's worst enemy and the thorn in Sunflower's side. Welcome.
Thank you.
And with that, we are off. And I should play it before I can't. I'm trying to hold my hand over it.
Sean up to speak today. He's got his PhD in philosophy, and he teaches out in California at UCLA. And he had told me a while back that he was going to be here in Florida for a convention of philosophy at UM. And I thought if you could come by and pretty much do what I do to you guys every week in apologetics class.
Why do you?
Just press you on what you believe and why you believe it. But this time it's not just going to be someone pretending. And so I hope you guys are up for that challenge. He's going to share some of his story with you and then also take a few questions from you guys. So as he's sharing his story, have a few questions ready, maybe a few objections waiting, but pretend you're in my class at this moment, because it's going to kind of feel like apologetics in here to some degree, because again, we've got skeptic and believer. So if you would give a great round of applause for my friend Sean as he comes out.
Is that a fly trap hanging from the wall?
That's what it looked like.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is a unique opportunity. I teach at a school in Southern California at a university, so obviously work with university students normally. But when the opportunity came to come to a Christian school, which is obviously very different than where I teach at UCLA, I was like, sure, I'll share my story a little bit. And then we have 2 mics that'll roam around, and you can ask me anything you'd like to ask me. So I teach philosophy, but I'm not a Christian. I didn't make this sign, but that's fine. Atheist encounter. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I grew up
What's the ninth commandment?
in Northern California, kind of outside of San Francisco.
It's already a little sus
Go to church.
because he has
I
he
went
has
on
the
mission trips where I live, mission trips.
Sorry, I was gonna say it's already a little sus. He's got the pastor youth pastor haircut.
And kind of that, I mean, it could be you're used to giving speeches, but it's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
DVDs are out in the lobby on the way out.
Less fortunate there. I would read
Oh,
my
every day.
Bible. I would share my faith. I even would get $10 tithing, or no, I get $10 allowance each week, and I would tithe like $1 in the allowance tray because that's what I was told, 10% to be
Good investment.
Man, I believe this story.
10%.
I got to the university.
And there's no ROI. There's no ROI.
People with
Nope.
very, very different worldviews who had ideas I had never thought about before and who were actually really smart in what they believed. And I had a conversation with a student. I was a freshman, and she pressed back and asked me a couple questions I had never thought about before as a Christian. My first thought was, well, this is what my pastor taught me. Well, this is what my parents taught me. This is what the Bible says. But then my fourth thought for me is what I would call a game changer. My fourth thought was, honestly,
But what does John Maddox say?
The answer to what you're talking about. I've just been told what to believe. I'm going to actually go research this sides and see where the truth leads. To make a long story short, after I started to read people of different worldviews, I came to the conclusion there's no good scientific evidence that God exists. There's no reason to think the Bible is true, let alone inspired. I mean, there's far too many contradictions and errors and mistakes in the Bible, not to mention things like misogyny and slavery and genocide to come from a holy God. And frankly, I'm not sure Jesus existed. He might have. But I think the Christian story is better explained as being patterned after these dying and rising gods of the ancient Near East. So I became an atheist. Now, I don't know, maybe some of you here are not Christians. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand. I know what it's like to be in a community when everybody else believes something different from you. So I wouldn't ask you to do that. But you could probably imagine if you stopped believing the things your parents and community believed, that would upset the apple cart, wouldn't it? Like, it wasn't easy to start telling people, hey, I don't believe in God. I'm an atheist. Many were disappointed in me. Many thought like they had failed certain things. And I said, look, it's not your fault, Mom and Dad. I didn't blame my Bible teachers. I just have to follow what's true. And I don't think Christianity is true. In fact, I think it's harmful and dangerous and damaging to the world. Now, I guess I look at it like this. I'm guessing in your English and history classes, how many of you have studied like the ancient Greco-Roman gods, like Zeus and Poseidon? You know these stories, right? Okay, good. Almost all your hands went up. So like when the ancient Greeks couldn't explain something like, say, earthquakes, what did they say was the cause? The gods are angry, right? Or they couldn't explain something like, say, rain. What did they say was the cause? The gods are crying. No, gods don't cry. The goddesses were crying. That joke actually worked before the Wonder Woman movies.
Ha ha ha.
Bottom line is, for the ancient Greco-Roman stories, they didn't understand why the ground moved. They lacked a scientific, natural explanation. So they inserted God as an explanation when they lacked a natural one. The problem with doing that, it's called God of the gaps, is as science advances, what happens? Those gaps get smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, where people used to think God acted, we can now explain it naturally. I think this is true for miracles. I think this is true for the stories of Jesus, etc. I don't believe in the supernatural. Now, just so look, if Christianity was true, I would believe it. I teach philosophy, so I train people how to think, how to recognize good thinking, how to follow truth, how to recognize bad thinking. So if Christianity were true, I would believe it. I'd love to believe in an afterlife, some kind of heavenly state. I just can't talk myself into believe something for which I don't find good evidence, and I find good evidence against it. Now, I could keep talking about my classes, my life, but I actually think it'd be more interesting. Your beloved teacher told me that you have interactions where he kind of role plays different worldviews, so you're used to this dialogue. I'd be happy to just take questions. What would you like to ask an atheist philosophy professor? And I'll do my best to respond. So if the two of you, I see you over there, I see Mr. O'Neill over here. If you hold
Boxers or briefs?
come follow you. Anything you want to ask a professor is fair game, and I'll do my best to respond. If you guys will spread out, we'll get as many questions as possible.
Name brand or generic?
We'll be right back in just a second.
Yeah, we're not quite there yet for YouTube Premium. One day.
I absolutely love that Applebee's came up as a commercial. That's where we always went after church.
Yeah.
Well, praise God.
My family eats there a lot.
I can't stand it now, but
Hi. So you
Hi.
about philosophical arguments, correct? So I would like to know what you think about the world and its creation as a whole philosophically, and how the world, if it's so fine-tuned to its creation,
Oh, fine-tuning argument.
Created.
Okay, so I heard the first part. What do I think about the origin of creation? Repeat
Yes.
the second part for me again, very quickly.
So fine-tuning, right? I'm sure you know what that
Oh,
is.
fine-tuning.
Yes. Fine-tuning. So if
Oh, fine-tuning. Heard of that one before.
and we
what is
assume
that? What's that shit?
created it. What is
Okay.
your philosophical argument against that?
It's when you're trying to get a radio station, but it's like barely, and you just move the dial back and forth, but it can't quite come in.
Oh,
You have to fine tune it.
Yeah.
yeah. You're talking about way back when, like, you had like adjust the knob. Like you had to
Yeah, those kind of radios.
turn the knob. Yeah. I will say on a quick note on this, watch this and then thinking back to when I was in school, and then I ended up getting put into a well, it's because I got kicked out of public school. So just to be clear, but I got put in a Christian private school, and would had to sit in these like damn talks or speeches or whatever. And it's like listening to these kids, it's like they've literally just been programmed. These poor kids have just been programmed. And somebody said in the chat a little bit ago, and I agree. Them doing this, the way they're doing this, will probably create more skepticism and push people to atheism.
Hopefully.
It's going to help.
Yeah.
I think this could be counterproductive for them.
Yeah, may open up more Pandora's boxes than it closes.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, because it's like a bell. Once it's rung, you can't just unring it. You know, once you start posing questions, yeah.
Yeah, because even his like little opening statement, I could say, you know, there was a stage in my younger years where a lot of stuff he said, I'd have been like, hold on. But mom and dad and the youth pastor, they all said this was true. Who the hell's this guy?
Yeah.
You know, and being inquisitive, I would have wanted more information, you know.
And these kids' parents, they're paying good money for them to be taught about Jeebus at school. So,
Oh, hell yeah, there.
And I am watching most of it for the first time, but I know the shtick. I watch everything, just like our Bible studies and everything. But I haven't seen it because I don't want to ruin it either. So, do.
did you bring your gasoline, Oz?
Oh, I brought about 5 or 6 gallons and some matches.
Got it.
Okay, so let me jump in. So one is the question of, say, the origin of the universe creation. Now, I don't think the universe was created. I don't believe in creation because that word implies a creator and a mind. That's the very thing I'm not convinced that actually exists. So I actually think the data shows while our universe had a beginning, when you look at string theory, you'll find what's called the multiverse. And if you're following,
I was going at that string theory
in the Flash,
Yeah. He went to the very theoretical hypothesis that aren't well understood yet.
You had time.
So far, so far he's doing a great job as
No,
the
this is
atheists that
that one for you.
don't like to try to ask the questions. If I can be fair here, and
Multiverse, I think.
Yeah.
he's not answering anything.
Yeah.
he is doing the atheist apologetic right now.
It's some talking points.
Yeah. I will give him credit for that.
It points towards that reality. So our universe had a beginning, but I don't think the multiverse did. It's eternal and it's always been here. And there's reasons for that we could go into. Fine-tune.
Okay.
If this were the only universe that existed, then I think we would be surprised that it happens to be so seemingly
So enthused. Look at him.
tuned to allow.
I was gonna say they are not having as much fun as we are right now.
Right
Kind
now,
of like the panel when John Maddox was on and Peter had his sound effect, the crickets.
right now, this is what I imagine going through their heads.
Crickets.
What is this guy fucking talking about? I thought it was just God over everything. Like what the hell is this guy talking about? Mom.
What's a multiverse?
What was he talking about? Strings.
Oh, these silly atheists, they think strings made everything. They're so stupid.
I saw that Marvel movie. That was good. That was the second one. Made of strings. Silly robots.
Let's play that guitar. Let's roll.
Since it's not, and there's more probabilistic resources in the universe, I don't see why fine-tuning is a problem. In fact, if there is a multiverse, we wouldn't expect to find ourselves in a universe that's not fine-tuned because we couldn't live in such a universe. We'd expect to find ourselves in the very kind of universe that we do find ourselves in. Oh, she can go again. I have no power here.
She wants to go again.
So I
Hot.
follow-up question. So you pick specifically
Coming in hot.
choice of creator or creating.
Jesus would be very sad.
God or something else. I just don't understand where you're coming from in the sense that thinking that this world isn't created. Whether that
Darth
be
Dawkins' daughter.
or the multiverse as a whole.
Well, I don't think the universe had a beginning.
Oh, God.
Multiverse.
That was
That's
awesome.
really what I mean by the universe. I don't think it had a beginning. Hence, it doesn't need any cause outside of the universe. Now, if you say that
And so, welcome, Dave Garr. We are Skeptic and Ranting on episode Among Us. It appears to be an atheist giving a speech to a Christian school.
A Christian school.
Some sort of counter apologetics, probably, I'm sure. That's probably what it is. We'll find out on this episode, Skeptic and Ranting Among Us.
He's in the lion's den.
the universe needs a creator, then why wouldn't the creator need a creator? Why could the creator just exist?
Those lions are ferocious.
That would be my question. So if you're going to be consistent, either they both need some kind of cause or they both just exist. You believe God just exists. I believe the universe just exists. So minimally, we're at an impasse. Good question. Anybody else?
Hey, Nick. Hey, Jason.
Any others? Spread out, even while they're
So-
talking. There's one
So
up top
Mr.
in
Stewart
there.
was supposed to be the downstairs guy, but I guess I'll do both. Mr. Stewart.
All right, we'll try to get in as many as we can. So keep your hands up and they'll come to you.
Put your hands up. Put your hands up.
So
Hey,
you said
Bob Larson could go there and
sure
perform exorcisms or something to liven things up.
if he was God or like
Now wave them hands from side to side. Say, hey.
He might have been. I think the evidence is late and contradictory and legend filled. So I'm not fully convinced.
So the legend filled, would that be like the Roman who believed in the like his gods and everything else would be blasphemy and he'd hate everything? Even him saying that he was a real person is based on legend? That's what I just wanted to make
Wait,
sure.
Jesus saying he's a real person would be legend?
No, so the Roman saying Jesus existed and Jesus was a person.
Well, there's no good early Roman source that does.
Josephus.
Josephus was Jewish.
Now, that's a terrible thing to say. You would never want to imply that a source is
Or Roman
not credible or reliable just because
Jewish.
they're Jewish.
Yeah, that was one of them when we were talking backstage.
Yeah.
That you try to strip away, credibility. You don't go to, where they were born or their heritage. It's, if anything, you just go to,
Right.
when, or what's the earliest date that we know that this book was, these texts were written, and let's start there. Are they contemporary? If not, then move on.
Yeah, and Josephus remained a Jew, so his writings talking about Jesus doing miracles and being the Son of God, it really doesn't seem credible because he didn't become a Christian.
Exactly, and I think it was Josephus's dad supposedly was in high ranks when Jesus would have been alive, obviously, and there was no documentation from Josephus's father anything about a Jesus Christ, a Christus, a divine Jesus, a miracle working Jesus, none of the above.
Yeah, no reports of the miracles, the resurrections outside the Bible. Yeah.
So guess where that leaves us, kids? Hashtag Jesus is a myth.
You'd think that something so important to all of humanity and from the creator of the universe, it would be everywhere.
Yeah, and without going on a big tangent, and Nate's in the chat now, so I know he'll get a kick out of this. If this Jesus dude was really supposed to be, or was the God in flesh, he was the most important human being to ever grace our planet, and he was to save all of humanity from sin and suffering and torment and damnation and hell. Take a brief pause. Would it be too much for us to ask that somebody at least wrote a sentence or two about him while he was alive? Maybe a sentence or two. We don't even have that. And this is me being very, very generous. The least amount was 20 years. 20 years later.
Yeah, that's a very generous. Yeah, more probably closer to 40 to 60, but no less than 20.
Yeah, and that's why I always give 20. But just so I'm not accused of being, overly critical.
Right.
At 20 years, it took you 20 years to write down or record something about the guy that was supposed to save humanity. Let me put this blunt. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, that guy who died and then he came back 3 days later and all the tombs opened up and the zombies walked around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right. The people came back from the dead. Sorry, I'm forgetful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Amy, I don't blame you. Most people forget about the whole dead for 3 days coming back to life thing. That's an easy detail to forget or leave out. But yeah, and that's where just people to talk about logic and reason. Look, this is just common fucking sense at this point. If you don't have documentation that a human body was dead for 3 days and came back, and you want to tell me that cute little story, you better have some damn evidence.
Faith. You have to have faith. Faith is the evidence of things not seen. Yeah.
And Sunflower, it's good to see you, my little flower. But no, Jesus Christ is not the most significant or impactful human to ever walk. You just choose to believe that. My little flower.
Hi, Sunflower. Also, hi, Ancher. And not that much.
Not much.
We just getting into the meat of this definitely 100% an atheist. Okay, back to the fun.
Sorry for my rant.
Cephas mentioned
Not at all.
No, it's appropriate.
people by the name of Jesus. 33 people. Have you read the Antiquities of the Jews?
I've not read that yet.
Okay, so
That's a funny
listen,
question to ask high
that's all right.
schoolers.
I would encourage you to read it. It's like saying
Focus, Newman.
to Mike or John today. Jesus was a very common name in the Jewish world because it refers to Joshua, like a savior. So yeah, he refers to a bunch of people by the name of Jesus, but that's hardly reference to the historical biblical Jesus. Second reason I don't trust Josephus is in Antiquities of the Jews, chapter 18. Josephus allegedly refers to Jesus as risen on the third day, crucified, performing miracles, and being the Messiah. Would any Jew believe that? The answer is no. Jew by religion.
But why does it just have to be Jew? Can't it just be, why would someone believe that? Why does it have to be the Jews? Like, I get it. My family is cool. I think what they think is pretty cool. But even they, well, not they, because they're the secular Jews, but even the other Jews are like, no, Moses was doing the magic tricks and making the firstborns go sleepy forever, and that's the nice way of putting it. So why the Jews?
I mean, it's like Smokey, like how certain Christian, they try to paint atheists as anti-Semitic because we think correctly that most of or a good chunk of the Old Testament is myth, and we don't find it to be reliable or truthful, therefore we must hate Jewish people.
Oh no, I'll still eat matzah, and it still didn't happen. I can have two of those things happen at the same time.
But there was still no Exodus, yeah.
Yep. And I'll say this and then just hit the play button. Sunflower, I would argue that I've had a greater impact on the world than the supposed Jesus. Thank you.
I mean, I think the janitor at the factory has bigger impact.
Mm-hmm.
Do it to me, Amy.
For the first 8 centuries of the church, it's not really the 10th century that any church historian quotes Josephus, because the passage that allegedly refers to Jesus was tweaked and interpolated and not actually written by Josephus.
One of the great challenges in this world is knowing enough about a subject.
Now, time for our commercial.
Trying to trigger John Maddox with that because he knows more physics than that guy.
Go ahead.
John Maddox has a crush on Oz.
So I have a question about
Probably.
So
And Godless Girl.
Universe wasn't created.
Oh, for sure.
But how do you know that it wasn't created if we know that it
Is that Otangelo?
dying? Like we know that right? So an energy failing every
That was great.
He snuck into the high school.
Like how do you know that it sorry, the microphone so weird. It's fine.
I can't even pay attention.
How do you know that it is and if the universe is constantly dying?
There's a little speaker hidden behind his mask.
Yeah.
Let me jump in for a second. Because the echo makes it kind of hard to hear.
Baby.
It sounds like something you would say too, just an incoherent thing.
Wouldn't it have had a beginning?
Have you ever seen the proteins that are tied to the nucleotides that go to the filaments?
Reasonably believe we have an expanding and a contracting universe.
That contract.
Xylophone. And how would we believe this? Because as
An accordion or
into the universe, we see red-shifted stars.
Where's Weird Al when you need him?
On the longer wavelength of light that the universe is expanding. We also have some blue-shifted stars, which tells us that there's also contraction. So yeah, the universe is expanding, but I think it's also contracting as well.
But expanding, shouldn't it be from the one point? Like from a single point? It should expand from somewhere.
the Shroud of Turin.
That's definitely Otangelo.
Have to come
Yeah.
Then you have to ask that question for God. Where did God come from?
Well,
Uh,
it come from somewhere. Like we
somewhere.
was created and
It came from somewhere.
The answer was priceless. The God guy came from somewhere over
Yeah.
over the rainbow.
Somewhere.
How about that string thing you're talking about? Can we talk about, did God come from the string?
Little string.
God is Pinocchio with the strings. And he lies a lot, too. I want to be a real God.
Thank you, capitalism.
Yeah. Love Tempur-Pedic at our house.
I'm not sure I'm fully tracking, maybe because of the sound, but we have reason to believe the universe is expanding and contracting. If there was a beginning to this, you're still...
I was with you. I don't know about contracting. It is expanding.
The universe is contracting.
I don't know if it's contracting, but it is expanding.
I've never heard that.
It's pregnant, guys. Chill.
Your waistline expands and contracts.
You obviously are not in tune with the Holy Spirit. It's pregnant.
He didn't come inside you, Amy. Did the Holy Spirit did you ask the Holy Spirit to come inside you, Amy? He will if you ask him.
I didn't, but I'll keep on trying to get pregnant with.
Talk to Dak.
Only dealing with our...
If I can, real quick, sorry. So Jason just said this dude is a Christian. We should do more of this. Atheists playing a Christian to understand their positions. Know thine enemy, to quote the Bible. Right? That comes from the Bible.
Yeah.
I know. But that's actually, especially with COVID ending, something that I'm excited to try to engage in. Because like right as COVID started to shut all this shit down, I started to get invited to Bible studies, and they're like, we want you to come in. You're going to be the only atheist, and kind of share your position. And then, are you willing to let them grill you? For like an hour and a half. And I was like, fuck yeah! I got one on. I got. What? I had to do a review on that.
That would be amazing to watch.
Yes, you should.
I'm going to see if I have that, because I think I still have the video of the entire thing, and it was a really interesting hour and a half, and they were except for one guy, I believe it was. Everybody was really cool.
It's always that one guy.
Yeah, there's only one tool, but it was interesting because a couple of them, it was the first time that they had, knowingly anyway, spoken to or been engaged with an atheist, like an actual
live atheist,
like I'm some kind of dying dinosaur or something. But it really was interesting to hear the questions, see the responses, and they were like perplexed. Like some of them were like just perplexed that I did not believe in God anymore. It was like almost a trip for them. To hear that, but yeah, I anyway, another long.
Like you're from another planet, or like we're from another planet.
But I agree, we need to do more of that. And another thing that I think, especially on the YouTubes that we can do really quick to help strengthen our arguments and help us connect with them, is do more Steelman. Where I'm a former Christian, and do not debates but open conversations where I go back to Christian Oz and I argue from that point, and it only helps everybody. But okay, I'm done.
No, and that's why I wanted you to come on for this thing, because you are a Christian like me. You were a Christian for a long time, so you know atheist arguments, and you know the good ones, the bad ones, and how to tweak them.
And I think there needs to be more conversations where it is not about someone coming out winning or losing. Like it's like having conversations, we come out understanding each other better, and everybody wins.
Yes.
Woohoo. And if you just joined us, we are Skeptic and Ranting Among Us, where this is definitely 100%, 180% an atheist that we are watching go.
Universe, not multiverse. So it doesn't get us all the way to an explanation that would require God. That's my question.
Oh, go back to Brazil.
I see a hand down here. I see a few in the back. Again, just if you don't mind, get as quickly to your question and distinctly as you can.
Based on what he's wearing and where he's sitting, I'm just going to take a stab that he's like on the chess team or something.
Woohoo!
Let's take, while we're talking, go ahead and pull your mask off, then we can hear.
So earlier, while you were addressing Madison's
Yeah,
question,
fuck COVID.
noted that the multiverse had to be an eternal type thing in order for the beginning of our universe to be created. So, going off of that, do you believe that the components of something created needs to be in that which created it? So, like, for example, with the creation of our world, we have intellectual minds. And from that, with the multiverse, how did the intellectual minds come, like, initiate or develop through something that didn't have that property?
Okay, so if I understand, you're asking the question of consciousness. How did a universe that seemingly at the beginning was physical?
There you go, Amy. Consciousness.
Yeah,
I was
he's
gonna
talking our
say,
language.
he's coming onto my territory, but it's a weird way. Every once in a while, some people just, I feel like they just throw that word in there. They feel like, shit, I need to sound deep, quick. String theory, consciousness, quantum
Fine-tuning.
mechanics, fine
String,
tuning.
yeah.
Did I say anything that sticks? If not, go Google it. It's like, oh, okay. I don't think that was an argument, but they're fantastic topics, I guess. Thank you for-
Ontology. What else? Yeah, they love the eschatology. All those tologies Darth throws around.
Aditology on it. It'll be fine.
Don't leave out the fucking string.
That's right. Little strings.
Stringology.
Otherwise, how could Pinocchio move?
Yep.
But let's see. We'll see what he is.
Process.
Yes.
Did I capture your question?
Yes.
Okay, good. So yes, the universe is physical. Wait, don't leave yet, because she might want to follow up. But there's certain capacities for what are
No, one and done. She's on the way out.
at the right level of complexity and diversity.
She already knew she fucked up.
Yeah.
Take, for example, hydrogen and oxygen. They're two physical molecules or elements. You put them together and you have water. Now, a new property emerges called wetness. It doesn't exist just in hydrogen, doesn't exist just in oxygen, but somehow when these two physical properties emerge, these two elements emerge, you have this new property develop out of it.
I'm with you so
I think
far.
the same is true when it comes to the emergence of consciousness, that at a certain level of complexity, this new element, it's an epiphenomenon of consciousness, emerges like wetness.
He's definitely a pastor. I could tell by his mannerisms.
The evolution.
Wetness. It's about wetness, Amy.
And you can see simpler organisms.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to explain, but it's a little bit different than a teacher, or I don't know how to explain it, than just like a businessman trying to sell a product. It does seem like they want to sell a product, but it's a specific type of product, and it's hard to.
Yeah, well, that's why
get it on here.
Pastors always look like the late night, late night bullshit product salespeople.
Infomercials, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you need to get excited because and the body language and then I'll say this and shut up. Sunflower, what you just said there is an appeal to populum. That's a fallacy, which makes your logic in that approach bullshit. But I'm done.
Oh, snap.
My little flower.
Aren't really conscious, but there's a
turd blossom.
Pain. And then you have consciousness, and then you have self-consciousness. You have this increasing complexity go on as the evolutionary story unfolds.
Titan Uranus.
All right, we're going to jump up here. Go ahead.
If you don't follow an afterlife or a sort of meaning of life right now, a sort of greater purpose, where do you personally and where do you suggest others find vocational motivation?
That's a good question. So let me answer this.
Bullshit.
I would presume, correct me if I'm wrong, you believe purpose is top down, that God has made this world, he infuses it with purpose, and we find our purpose in God in some fashion. Is that fair?
Fair, yeah.
Okay. I think purpose comes from the bottom up. I don't think there's a God. I don't think there's a grand design. But as we look at this amazing story of evolutionary history, we have things like friendship, we have good food, we have knowledge, we have freedom.
It's about to get Yu-Gi-Oh up in here.
All good things that give our lives purposes.
Like Darth singing Kumbaya.
God that exists. And I think as we look at human beings,
Kumbaya, my lord, Kumbaya.
Purposeful,
That's the fucking goddamn best one yet.
About God.
So
I was, for the record, I was trying to refrain from hitting the soundboard, but as soon as you said it, I had to fucking hit it.
Why continue at all?
Is perfect.
At all because I don't win in the end?
Correct.
Okay. Think about it this way. How many football players do we have here? Let me see your hands. Let me see hands. Football players.
I'm going to pretend like I am.
If we said,
look at all the skinny white guys.
we're having a scrimmage against the Kansas City Chiefs. Even though you're going to lose, actually, they got smoked. You might beat them. Let's go with the Buccaneers. Okay? If you're going to play the Buccaneers, is there any chance you're going to win? The answer is no. You effectively have zero chance of winning, maybe negative chance. How many football players would be like, I don't care. I get to get on the field with Tom Brady and with the Buccaneers. I'm playing anyways. How many of you would still play?
Hell yeah.
On the field with those guys.
I would, but
Right?
for a different
That'd be awesome.
reason.
Even though you win, so to speak, in the end, it doesn't mean that experiences are not valuable. In fact, I would actually say, as an atheist, my life
As
is
an
finite.
atheist?
As an atheist,
So I think
Notice he had to
that
pause.
value, because this is all I have. So I don't get this morning back. I don't think I live for infinity, and I spent it with you guys. That tells me that I think there's something important about thinking and relationships and growing. So not believing in God, I think actually makes life more.
But also secretly, 10% of your
Over
money.
here, I want to make sure people can follow up with their questions.
don't worry, you'll get it back with 1,000,000,000% interest after you die.
So the Bible contains hundreds of prophecies fulfilled.
Look, he Googled his shit.
Even being fulfilled, like as of now in the 21st century, how would that be possible without a omniscient God?
Give me your
An
best.
example of a
Give me your best prophecy, yeah.
virgin
Hit me
birth.
with your best shot.
The
Fire away.
in the end times.
Which one?
The measuring of Israel in end times, I believe is what he said. Which is, it always gets
Mentioning-
really vague once it gets to the specific prophecy. Funny about that.
And here's the thing, Christians, when you talk about a prophecy in the Bible, and then it's directly connected to the end of time, guess what? It's already bullshit. It's already bullshit. And here, here's how we do it. We can connect these dots like it's very, very easy, right, to do this. Guess why? We're still here and there's still time.
Yeah, what was that video we watched last month about the after Easter,
right.
the demons were going to be out and the place would go dark for 3 days and you'd have to be boarded up in your house with painted windows.
Yeah, it sounds like a goddamn movie.
The guy was really emotional. I think he was really expecting it. He was waiting for those demons to be killing people in the street.
Well, that's what happens when people are indoctrinated and holy shit, is this Murder Shed Amy? What is going on over here?
She's having a spiritual moment.
I don't know how to say this, but at Moonlight, I become Carrot Top.
I thought she was going to say the Holy Spirit came inside her like we were just asking.
Woo. That's pretty hot, too. But I'm training. I'm training under Murder Shed Steve. And okay.
Praise God.
If you just joined us.
Praise Sunflower.
Murder Shed Steve just started Murder Shed classes, so you should contact him.
Ooh. That sounds good. All right, so contact Murder Shed Steve for some classes. Time to learn how to do it right, folks. You can't just go here and just I'm just getting out there.
I mean, I guess maybe you could read the Bible. That has a lot of murdering in there, a lot of killing and death.
True.
Yeah. But it's okay if it's for God.
Exactly. Or if you're doing it in Murder Shed Steve's house, then it's fine. Or in his shed. I'm pretty sure the jurisdictions, U.S. jurisdictions, don't apply there. Pretty sure that's how it works.
Well, he teaches you how to make it just disappear. Like you don't even have to worry.
Ooh.
Just the problems just go away.
You see?
Like Sodom and Gomorrah.
He's got to make disappear. Just like all those firstborn Egyptian sons.
Sorry, and real quick, Sunflower.
No.
You are completely showing your lack of understanding of anything that anyone is talking about in the chat. Because when we're talking about an appeal to populum, you go do the research. That's not what is happening. So it shows that you have not studied. You're not aware of what you're talking about. So go back to class, get a pen and a pad, take some notes, and then come back to the drawing board.
Oh, I have it for you.
Uh-oh, that mic drop.
Do it up. Praise Jesus.
So in the end times, because it hasn't been fulfilled yet.
Well, it's being fulfilled now.
So give me an example of a prophecy prophesied ahead of time that was distinctly fulfilled that you think is supernatural.
I mean, you could go with the birth of Jesus or the crucifixion of Jesus.
Oh, yes, let's talk about both.
Or the crucifixion of
Yes,
Jesus.
please.
Okay, let's go to the birth of Jesus. Okay, since you
Yes,
started.
yes.
When that prophecy was written according to you.
Yeah, from Bethlehem, Galilee,
I just
Nazareth,
want you all to know
all of the above.
that the answer is Bob Saget. It will always be Bob Saget. And okay.
Yep.
Moving on.
In the book of Micah, correct?
Look the way he moves.
It is correct. So Jesus
Hysterical.
claims to be the Messiah. Would he have been aware of this prophecy?
Aww.
Yeah.
Why do you say you're talking to me? You just asked the goddamn question.
Of course he was.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
In
true.
Luke chapter 2, Jesus knew the law so well, even the leaders reflected upon this. Okay? I don't think Jesus is real. I'm telling the story from your perspective. Jesus would have known this prophecy. So if he's trying to proclaim himself as the Messiah, do you think by the time he's 33, 3 decades removed from this, he would start telling people that he's from the area of Bethlehem, and later followers who believe this would start telling that as well? The answer is, of course. So I would need some actual proof that he's from that area.
Terrible word. Terrible word.
And didn't
Yeah.
invent this like he did other prophecies to believe it's really supernatural. And the evidence that Jesus is from Bethlehem outside of the Gospels only emerges in the 3rd century, 300 years removed. So I don't buy it.
Me neither.
Another example, we could talk about it.
Ramen.
But either the prophecies, you have people writing the New Testament,
Can
reading.
we stop right there real quick? So the jokes aside, the real shit on the James, you and I have never talked about this subject before. I'm interested to hear.
Yeah.
To me, one of the things through my deconstruction process was studying the quote unquote virgin birth, and all of a sudden I stumbled upon this word Alma, the word that's used in the original text,
right?
Which the definition in the original text is a young woman at the age to bear, that she has the ability to bear.
Right. She's young, but she's gone through puberty, so she could bear a child.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with virginity.
Right.
Has nothing to do with giving birth through virginity. Like nothing like that was implied or meant in the original text. That was one of my biggest hurdles, so to speak, or one of the walls that I hit, where I was like, "Oh shit, but what?"
Yeah, that's a big inconsistency, and I think, I mean, the number of doctrines that the Christians had to come up with to try to get around and figure out how all that works, it's a complete mess. Like, especially in Catholicism, like with the perpetual virginity, the Immaculate Conception, then Mary being ascended into heaven at some
And I
point.
want you
It's
guys
just a
to
mess.
know, or I guess I don't know why specifically, but that stuff from an outside culture is very hard to absorb. There are a lot of nuances in, I guess, I don't even want to call it Western culture because that is giving them ground, but just I do not understand the virgin birth. I do not understand 3 days. They're just like, of course it makes significance for 3 days. It's like, no, why didn't he just do it instantly or like an hour or
it has
like
to
a
be.
day?
If it's presented to you as a child by people that you trust, you just kind of accept it when you'll accept just about anything, and you just never question it because it's just always reinforced. But like Oz says all the time, like once you get out of it and take those God glasses off, and then you look at some of the crazy things you used to believe in, you're like, wow, I can't believe I really thought that was true.
Yes, I tell Pastor Mike all the time, I can't, at this stage, I cannot believe that I actually believed in this shit, right? As I break it all down, because even with the virgin birth, there is absolutely zero, none, nada, and all of your historians, both theist and atheist, will say there is none. There's no evidence that there was ever a virgin birth, period. But they hang their hat on it. Like there was this the Immaculate Conception, and that shit happened. And then I heard somebody the other day try to say, no, it is like next to proven in fact that Jesus died due to crucifixion. And I'm like, where are you getting your information? There's no way. Did people die via crucifixion back then? Yes, the Romans loved to kill people. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
They loved to kill people, and they loved to be nasty about it.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
That was one of the ways they killed people they really didn't like.
See, but I would even give them a crucifixion because people get crucified. But what I try and tell them is there are nastier way to die. ISIS crucified children upside down. Yep. Is this a competition to how bad people can die, or
burning
is this
at the stake?
Yeah, or the witches, or is this like? He came up from the dead and now he reigned in heaven and all this like stuff that is almost is impossible. How can you prove that
I think it was just one of the nastier methods the Romans used, so they just went with that one because the Romans did it and it was one of the more unpleasant things that they did.
But it wouldn't prove a god. It would never just prove died.
It was almost a sport for them. As disgusting as that sounds, that was kind of their culture. The Roman culture, I Amy, what you just said, I absolutely agree with. I will give you, if you're a Christian, I will give you the crucifixion. You can have it. You can have it because it happened all the time. But here's what you don't get to have. You don't get to have the virgin birth until you can prove the virgin birth, and you don't get to have the resurrection after 3 days until you can provide good evidence that's convincible. That's convincing enough to move the critics and the skeptics and those that want the proper evidence. You don't get that. It's not a freebie. You don't get the damn freebie out of that because nobody else. When what was the philosopher? Hume. And Hume talked about when there are claims of miracles and supernatural, the evidence has to be equal to, or if not more, convincing than the actual event. especially when it happened that long ago, when we didn't have the scientific understanding and all the things that we have today. So it's absolutely baloney. It's baloney, as my grandma would say. Fucking baloney.
Isn't it just amazing that they make all these claims about these miraculous things, but they're all well before you could ask for any evidence or documentation. And as we move closer to today, they taper off until we get to today where we don't see anything miraculous happening.
And Catholic traditionalist, I see you in live chat. We're gonna go until there's, I think, a point or two that us in here want to get to, and then once we've had our fun with it, we can eventually open back up to live chat, and you could come join us. I'm trying to think how to reword us.
Is that Darth Dawkins, buddy?
Probably. Who knows?
You can talk.
Well, we love you too. And okay, I'm sorry, Oz. Did I cut you off? I just wanted to address that. But if you have another statement,
I don't think so. Just don't take shit on faith. Don't take shit on faith just because somebody told you something was true. Do your damn homework.
That's right. Faith is a good way to be wrong.
Well, on our channel, sorry, real quick, two things to say. Faith is bullshit, and faith is for those that don't want to do the hard work.
Yeah, you would only use that as evidence when you have nothing better.
Pulling things out of context, like the virgin birth. If you actually read on the virgin birth, it has nothing to do with the Messiah. And the Hebrew word is for a young girl, not even a virgin. New Testament writers apply that as if to Jesus.
Jesus.
But it was never implied that way in the Old Testament. Or people like Jesus intentionally try to fulfill him because they're aware of him, and he's trying to convince people he's the Messiah.
Preacher.
But you also have some false prophecies we could talk about if you wanted to as well. Like when Jesus says, his return, people in this generation will see it. Well, we're at least 20 generations after this plus, and Jesus still hasn't come back. So I don't buy the
Jesus hasn't came yet, Amy?
I think there's examples of
not yet. I'm trying.
Okay. Keep going.
Is this on? That's loud. Hi. I'd just like to say thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Are you married?
And from here, it looks like you have a wedding ring on. Are you married?
Ooh.
Oh my God.
Am I married? This is getting really personal.
Do you want to be?
Just answer.
Just answer. Wow.
Yes, sir. What is your standard for love?
Wow.
If you have no foundation.
Can I tell you right now, Christian, not Christian? If my daughter was in school and there was a teacher or whatever in front of the class, and she talked to an adult like that, I don't care about leadership or anything like that. You talk to an adult,
man.
We can have a little conversation, young lady. We can have a little conversation. What are you talking about? Just answer the question. Who the fuck is you?
Yeah.
Well,
too much.
I mean, the church needs their, or the school needs their ad revenue. So.
Okay,
Indeed.
I can tell you my standard is not, because despite what people say, he did and believed a lot of things we all know are not loving. And I'll give you some examples of this. Supposedly there's demons. Wait, don't leave. She might want to follow back up.
No, one and done.
You have the mic.
She's like, no, I already embarrassed myself.
There's demons, and instead of casting them out, he runs them into a herd owner's pigs and sends, 2,000 pigs into the ocean. Like, why would
It's a ridiculous story.
Sound very loving to me. It's like Jesus believes in the Old Testament, and you look at a lot of the violence in the Old Testament, that's hardly the kind of thing a loving God would do. So I don't
curse the fig tree.
Bible for love. Now, are there some things Jesus taught that were good? Sure. Like loving your enemies, that's a pretty powerful teaching Jesus he taught. I'm okay with that.
Jesus was like, oh yeah, my bad. I forgot we was out of season. God damn it.
So I'm gonna kill you, fucking tree.
Sense and reflection on how human beings best flourish. So I just look at my wife and I say, what words can I say that are kind to her? How can I treat her respectfully? How do I be a good husband? How do I be a good dad? How do I be faithful to her? Like these, you might say these are Christian values, but they're also Buddhist values. They're also Hindu values. That's because they're human values. So I don't need an ancient book to know what it means to love my wife. In fact, I think that ancient book wouldn't help me because the way it treats women.
He's actually dropping bombs right there.
Yeah.
Are you done, or did you want to come back? Are you married?
I think that one's atheist.
So if you believe in things from a
be funny if we just stopped right now. Just
Yeah.
Good night, everyone. I guess we just talked to an atheist, dude.
He'll come around.
You do, right? Like
Oh,
scientific.
God.
I couldn't quite make that out.
Do you believe in things from a scientific perspective, like the creation and life based on science?
This kid did not pay attention to a single fucking class the whole time he was in high school. Listen to this shit.
Do you believe in creation from a scientific perspective?
Do I believe creation from a scientific perspective? I don't believe creation.
It's a loaded question.
Okay. Well, then what are your thoughts on just like the law of conservation of matter and how things can't be created?
Because I heard in Ken Hovind's video, DVD.
The first law of thermodynamics, which you call the law of conservation, says that matter is neither created nor destroyed. Correct?
Yes.
Who believes matter was created? You or me?
Well, I was thinking you, because you.
No,
talked about-
I just said I don't believe matter was created, because that implies a creator. Are you a Christian? Do you believe in God?
Yes.
So you believe matter was created. The first law that you cited says matter is neither created nor destroyed. That's not a problem for me. I don't think it was created or destroyed. I say, yep, that's scientific fact. You're the one who believes it was created.
So how do you think the universe is expanding without matter being created?
How is it expanding?
Your mom.
They thought the universe was
Oh, that's easy. Put buttons on a balloon. If you
Called-
expand the balloon, what happens?
First of all, it is expanding because of dark energy.
Space itself is expanding.
Yeah, space itself. Why?
Not matter.
We don't know. We
Yeah.
just know the force that is doing it.
We don't even really know. We get with the data, and that's what we see. So there must be something there. We call dark energy. What exactly it is, we don't know.
It's only a problem when we get to a point when we say, I don't know, and you don't accept I don't know as an answer. But as long as you're able to go say, I don't know, you're able to go back different layers.
Well,
They
Amy,
get upset.
It's because God is just stretching everything. That's what dark energy is. God stretching the heavens. Continue.
But when we say we can only go as far back as the Big Bang, and they say, what is before that? It's like, look, I purposely started with this conversation with, we can only go as far back as the Big Bang. So you wouldn't ask that question because that is as far back as we can go. But then you asked,
What happened
why
before
beyond
that?
And then
Don't
they
know.
don't accept, I don't know. Well, it's like you set the question up to fail and then wait for it to fail and go.
But just picking an arbitrary answer just out of the blue isn't very, just so you have an answer, isn't a very good way to find truth.
Yep.
Further from one another. There's not more matter. It's an expansion of the existing matter.
The buttons on the
more
balloon
empty space.
The wheels on the bus.
Well, yeah, I mean,
go round and
look
round.
at it that way. It gets more precise than that. But yeah, it's not the constant creation of matter for the universe to expand. It's a different relationship of the existing matter.
Oh, right.
Good questions, by the way. Very thoughtful.
Dude was like, I'm passing the mic. I'm passing the mic. I don't even know what the fuck we're talking about.
Olivia, it's very nice to meet you. Okay.
Oh, wonderful to meet you, Olivia.
You have
Oh, this
said
one's hilarious.
throughout today that you believe in science, yes?
Oh, man.
You believe?
Did you just get here, young lady? Did you just get here?
When a trial or tribulation per se
Ooh.
comes to your life, how do you explain the origin of that? And how do you endure that?
See how they all talk? See how they all
Trial or
talk?
tribulation.
It does have this little.
You trying to say they're like all indoctrinated? They all think the same, say the same things. Hey, stripper liquor.
How do you know that God isn't real? Because he lives in heaven and he told me so.
Oh, well, why didn't you say so before?
In the string.
It says it in the book. How could it be anything else?
The strings? Like, is that like a Pasta Mike's nickname?
Hallelujah.
Amen.
It's a different type of club.
If something happens, let's say a death or something
got it.
that you can't really
Or
That
like
escalated.
something
totally unforeseen, like a
In
pandemic.
this Team USA.
How do I deal
or
with it?
something
Okay.
unfair.
So because I am
I got a parking ticket. That's unfair.
Define unfair, young woman.
the world doesn't mean I only embrace science as a means of knowing and experiencing the world. That's what's called scientism. I don't embrace scientism. It's a testable, powerful way that's given
I don't
us
know what
medicine,
scientism is.
What the fuck just happened? What the fuck just happened?
etc. So when something like
I think the Holy Spirit came.
What?
I don't go to the Bible.
What the fuck just happened?
Science? Because science
The
is giving
first
us
divergence.
vaccines. Science is testing whether masks work.
Scientism?
It was scientists who at the bubonic plague said, this isn't a condemnation from God. Maybe there's a scientific explanation, viruses, bacteria, let's figure it out, that led to helping mankind. Now, personally, what do? I turn to family, I turn to friends, I turn to other human beings who help us through this. And we have helped each other. That's what it means to be human, to be a collective species.
Okay, so if you
You know what I like about this, guys, is that we're going to have a nice conversation with a bunch of atheists. They're going to walk away thinking that they've spoken with an atheist and have a better outlook on atheists. So I like about this conversation.
don't I think a lot of us believe in science in addition to what we personally believe, just as you do. So then what else do you
What do people mean when they say I believe it? You don't have to stop the video. I'm just saying this out loud. What the fuck do you mean I believe in
It's
science?
something
What the
that
fuck
can't
is that?
be civilized about humanity.
Because they're trying to equate their faith and our belief in science. It's like the same thing.
I know.
Except we have evidence.
Yes, right. I get it. But it's not. I can't correlate it. But I'll shut up.
Science believed to be an explanation.
So I understand the religious sentiment. Where I teach at UCLA, I will have Buddhist students who will say, I think
Liar.
in a super spiritual sense. I'll have Muslim students who will say that.
Liar.
That would violate the 10 Commandments, though.
It's ultimately a physical thing. So I have awe.
Him
at the universe.
lying?
I have awe at certain natural processes. I have awe when a child is born.
That'd be like Ted Haggard
Pleasing play.
being with a
But I
gay man.
don't see any evidence that there's a
Exactly.
transcendent
Ted
being
Haggard
outside.
is
Having sex with a
very,
gay prostitute. That would never. He would never do that.
Hey, when all that shit
very
down,
heterosexual.
when all that shit went down with Haggard, my brother and I were friends with the youth pastor and some of the youth leaders there that had moved from where we were from to go there. Dude, that was a fucking circus shit show when that went down. It was insane.
It certainly sure as hell was.
I just have that song forever stuck in my head. And if you haven't heard of it, everyone should just Google or YouTube, Ted Haggard is completely heterosexual. And you will find a fantastic music video where
He's super straight.
Ted Haggard is completely heterosexual.
But is he super straight?
Oh, as I say with most of that word, he's so super straight that he has transcended straightness, which is how I like to think of the super straight
Right.
word. You have become so super straight. You just start sucking a good old, and we're going back to the video.
Super like Milo Yiannopoulos, he's totally straight now too.
Feelings of awe. I believe
Exactly,
there's something
just like
bigger
Milo.
than humanity that's going on, but not in an immaterial spiritual sense. I don't find any evidence for the existence of such a being. So I think maybe that's where we differ. I also believe in history, believe in psychology, sociology. There's a lot of ways of knowing things about the world outside of science, but I don't believe there's a God in that.
Ancient books,
And maybe
unknown
it's
authors.
the problem of evil. But I
Maybe.
can talk about that if someone
Jesus
wants.
is a myth.
Who's got the mic? Up top.
I got the mic.
Right here, and then we'll come to the top.
I have two questions for you. The first
Oh.
in relation to the multiverse
He
theory.
came loaded.
So that theory has not been proved.
got two questions for
so
you.
if you're going to use that for your answer to the fine tuning, correct? And it's not a proven theory.
Okay, slow down. How do you know? the
Focus.
multiverse has
You can already tell he's the guy in class that thinks he's way smarter than you. Actually.
Yeah.
Cannot be proven as well.
No, I'm asking, how do you know? By the way, I wouldn't use the term prove because in philosophy that implies 100% certainty. But the consistent evidence points towards a multiverse, for example, from string theory.
Thought he was going to say that's a mathematics term. Then he went and kind of conflated that with absolute certainty. But okie dokie.
I mean, the doctrine of fallibilism tells us that just about everything we know is fallible. And assumptions we make are built on other assumptions. And
real quick before you hit play, does it not look like right now he's getting a giant wedgie?
It does kind of look like that guy is trying
they're
to
just
be a
playing
bully.
around. Yeah. It's playing around for Jesus, though.
Guys being guys. Oh, hi, baby. My
Yeah.
kitty.
Smokey Saint in there somewhere.
That's what Smokey and LPP do together.
Yeah. He snuck on campus even though they don't allow him there normally.
Oh, my.
Saucy.
The best explanation of reality embraced by virtually all cosmologists and
Old dude in the great needs some Adderall.
The best answer as of right now.
well, yeah, look, I mean, this is life. We have to reason things together.
Guy in the background looks like he's tweaking. He's like shaking all over the place like a leaf.
But that's how I am if I don't have my Adderall.
Out the fine tuning when you're looking at that, and so you
Focus, Oz, FCUS.
if this theory is it's not 100%.
Even you could even hear in his when he said that, he's like, "Oh shit, that I'm going to be hearing that for a long time."
Yep.
Theory of the multiverse, which cannot be proven completely.
Did you hear anything that I just said?
Yes, you said yes. You said it's the best answer as of right now.
Did you hear anything I just said?
Knowledge does not require certainty. And we know from string theory, have you read The Grand Design by Stephen Hawking?
There's that string.
That evidence points towards a multiverse. If you
I mean,
believe
all
that
high
evidence
schoolers
against
have.
it,
I mean, come
I'd
on.
be happy to give that up and not believe it. I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
But you can't say uncertain equals not proven, therefore we don't know. That's not how philosophy and knowledge works. So there may be fine tuning, but that fits within the multiverse scenario because we couldn't observe ourselves in a universe that were not fine tuned. So it fits perfectly within the theory that I've laid out.
Okay. And my second question for you is about the supernatural. So different things as opposed to just supernatural events that occur in the Bible, but that have occurred in modern day times. I've grown
Like
up
what?
Pentecostal Christian. So I've witnessed several times the casting out of demons and prophesying.
Oh my.
Where's Bob Larson?
Prophecies have been fulfilled.
Where's my
Several
emojis?
times the casting out of demons with the same reaction through several people. So what would be the best answer through that?
Okay, so when somebody says they have a personal experience, obviously because I wasn't there and none of this is documented, there's no way I can give an honest assessment of that.
Did he just basically ask, like, I have a common problem getting possessed by demons. What should I do?
It
was real casual, but
yeah, I don't think that's how he meant to.
Yeah.
Question, but it's definitely how it came off. But I will say again, Mr. Youth Pastor Haircut, I do like how he responds to this, and I think it's one of the young ladies' questions about this, and he actually does a pretty good representation.
Yeah, I mean, you go to Muslim countries, their imams do exorcisms. They look pretty similar to Christian exorcisms too.
yeah, I don't know how you'd be able to tell a difference.
Yeah, why? Because it's all bullshit.
It's mental illness and hypnosis and different things at work that apply to everybody, no matter what
And
culture.
I think, and a lot of wish fulfillment. I think a lot of
That too.
times, you know,
Well,
sometimes role playing, but sometimes, yeah.
The one thing people leave out is now I won't say this about Islam because I'm not familiar with how they treat mental health, but I can say with very, very good certainty within Christianity, a lot of it is can be connected to mental health and the just prayed away, faith it away, fucking bullshit. And if somebody tries to self-medicate, say they start drinking or they go to a substance, whatever it is, next thing you know, a lot of those like demonic, spiritual, evil devil experiences that they think they have has nothing to do with a spirit realm or a supernatural. It is you have somebody that's mentally ill, and now they've taken that mental illness and mixed it with foreign substance and or alcohol together. Guess what? You're probably gonna imagine and or see some shit that's not real.
It might happen.
Or at least you have a much higher chance.
But shout out to DeFreak.
What do you say now?
No, because that's his thing that he see God in the throne room.
Oh, cool story, bro.
Yeah. I think maybe Amy's going to get God. Maybe he showed up.
Oh God, sunflower. Yes, alcohol would still be considered a foreign substance if we're gonna get over technical. Jesus fucking Christ.
JHMFC.
And I wanted to find the comment, but someone was looking for proof of Thor. And I mean, right here, baby.
Oh, shit.
So, yeah, I mean, that's more than Yahweh's done for us. So, I don't know.
I mean, he parted the Red Sea, and we have so much evidence of that.
That's true. So they say.
Tower of Babel.
So when Amy opens up the room later, just know she came to bring the pain. So shut the fuck up.
And yeah, and hey, we are a open channel here for anyone from any ideas, atheist, theist, liberal, or conservative. The joke, as we do almost too much, is come as you are, just not on the sheets.
We don't mute people. It's the Christian channels. They like to mute people. Quite a lot, actually.
I mean, I generally live by the philosophy that it's not always, but sanitation is a very good, or sunlight is a very good sanitizer. And so I like letting people who have ideas disagree with me say them out loud. In fact, I kind of want them to say it out loud. And that way, that's the only way, especially with, don't want to give away our entire bag of tricks, but it's not even tricks, but generally speaking, you want people to say what they actually believe through their own words, so you're not straw manning them, because if they have something silly, then it'll sound silly out loud. If they have something rational, it will sound rational out loud. It's really all it is. All right, we're going back.
Event. That's impossible to do with any integrity. But what I can tell you is every single time somebody has shared a testimony with like this, I say, give me the evidence. Show me that the person wasn't schizophrenic. didn't have a mental disorder, that there's not another explanation for this, never is the supernatural left standing. Why doesn't somebody film it and put it on YouTube? Why doesn't somebody get a peer-reviewed journal article from it?
Good question.
That's your personal
Yeah,
experience.
good
I
question.
wasn't there. But I would say your worldview of believing in God is going to shape the way, and this is true for me as well, it's going to shape the way you process that experience. Strip that worldview out of it, I think you're going to find very solid naturalistic explanations for it. But if you can send me data, I'd be happy to look at it. Good questions. Let's go up top. We're just going to go with one each because of time.
Good afternoon. Are you familiar with the Shroud of Turin?
With the Shroud of Turin,
You had to do that to me.
Yeah.
Why you believe that the
Shroud.
Shroud of Turin is not physical evidence of the resurrection?
Shout out to Otangelo.
yes, because the most recent carbon dating dates it to the Middle Ages.
I hope that our atheist friend here, you know, it's going to really make me wonder if I could predict the future. I really hope that like 80% of what he's saying here is not for just educational purposes.
Yeah.
Man, I don't want to break down here, but like it'll really okay. I don't want to we're almost there.
We're almost there, people. Praise God.
About
Hey,
1500.
But what do you say to the objections that the carbon dating is incorrect due to the neutron absorption theory?
Freaking shout.
So if there only were carbon dating on the shroud and we had reason to doubt it, then I would find that a legitimate point. Carbon dating works to about 6,000 to 10,000 years and back. That's all that works back. So you can't date things older than 10,000 years through carbon dating. That's a fair question that you're raising, but the shroud at most is 2,000 years old. So I don't find any reason to question that of the shroud. Plus, pollen from the Middle Ages has been found on other parts of the shroud, and it can't be dated in existence before 1500.
But I believe there was pollen found that dated back to the 1st century as well.
You believe that, or you actually know that and can give me some evidence for that?
I'm fairly certain.
So that's not going to do it for me as a philosophy professor. I'm going to need some evidence.
Okay, so there was pollen found on the shroud from the 1st century.
Yeah. Just say it.
Retains its molecular form.
Just say it. You don't say you think. Just say it's true.
Of time. So there was pollen found on the shroud from the Near Eastern area that would correlate to pollen found in Israel, which...
Okay, so listen very carefully. I've read the recent data from a Jewish scholar named Dan Sherbach, and he's not convinced that it can date to the 1st century for a number of reasons, and these pollen things are very, very questionable. One question he raises is there could be material preserved from the 1st century. Doesn't mean the shroud itself was imprinted in the 1st century. That's one question that he raises. But he says that idea that pollen from then is very, very skeptical and breaks down. That was not assessed through carbon dating. That was assessed through another means. Now, at most, the shroud would simply say that some figure who matches the description
Yo, bro, I got
of Jesus
more.
existed and was crucified. At most, that's all that would follow from it. But I'm still not even convinced that that can be traced. Like in the chain of custody in a police event, you can only, if you can trace where it's been right back to the crime scene. When it comes to the shroud, there's questionable dating, and there's no way to trace it back within the first few centuries. So I'm just not persuaded by it. But if you know some good evidence for the shroud, I'd be
Hey,
happy.
Robert.
Who's got the mic? Go.
So earlier when we were talking about love, you used the story of Jesus casting out the pigs, but he never sent them to the pigs. All he did was cast the demons out of the man, and they fled in fear of Jesus into the pigs and ran off the cliff. The story you told made it seem like Jesus
Because that's a very, that story makes a lot of sense.
killed them. So
Perfect
that story doesn't
logic
really
right
work
there.
as an example of Jesus not being loving because you didn't tell the actual story.
Okay, I'm not following you. Maybe it's because the mask. Let me ask you very quickly. Do you believe Jesus is God?
He is the Son of God.
Yes or no? Is Jesus God?
Yes.
Could Jesus have cast out the demons without killing the thousands of pigs that that man owned? Yes or no?
God has given
Yes
everything.
or no? Could Jesus have casted out those demons
Always sit down.
without killing the man's pigs? Yes or no?
You're limiting the question to two answers that aren't necessarily the only two answers.
No, actually, these are exclusive options. Either Jesus could have done it or he could not have done it. There is no third option. Did Jesus have the power? Let me answer it for you. If Jesus is God, he can cast out demons without sending them into a bunch of pigs. Who agrees with that? Let me see your hands. If
Wanted
Jesus
bacon.
is God, he can cast out demons without sending them into pigs. Who agrees with that? It's not very hard. And so given that he could have done something without harming the man's property, and he didn't, at least raises the questions of his loving actions towards that man. If you own those pigs, I think you'd have felt very differently.
The demons fled. He didn't cast them out. They saw Jesus and they knew who he was. They were afraid. They ran away. God has given living things free will, so he can't force them to do
Free
something.
whale.
I just want to say I believe only in a specific level of turtles. I believe in turtles that are trying to conquer over my kingdom. I believe the two plumbers are trying to bring down my kingdom and prove me wrong. Goddamn plumbers.
And who's the princess?
Oh, the
Sure
princess
he did.
knows who she is.
Tell me how.
He does it all the time when you read the scriptures. He forces demons out of people. He could kill a demon if he's God. He's God. It's not that hard. Now, you're right. They recognized him, but that was at the beginning. At the end, he could.
Like, holy shit, that's fucking Jesus.
No, if they
What are
were
we gonna do?
that man, could he have stopped them from going back into that man?
Yes.
Yes. Then I think you answered your question.
You didn't answer the question about Jesus being loving. You just keep avoiding the questions people ask.
Oh,
Jesus,
he's been on Darth server.
Oh, snap.
La da 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 da.
We've asked you how you define love, and all you did was tell us
And all you did.
Jesus cast out demons and sent them to pigs.
Okay, I'm not sure you were listening.
Fucking
You
pigs.
asked me how I define love, and
You
I
didn't
said
define it.
I don't define it by the Bible.
And I want to know, do you believe in life after love? Okay.
Or is it love after life? Oh.
We found it! The Shroud of Turin! It's right there. The
It's got a
Shroud
little
of Oz.
goatee. Yeah, look at that. Focus, Newman.
We found the Shroud of
To
Turin.
Jesus
Right there.
because of stories like this. And then I went on to explain how I know what it means to love somebody independently of the Bible. That was the point. So to love somebody is simply when you care about that person's emotional and physical and their life development. That's what it means to love somebody. I don't need an ancient Bible to tell me that. That's common sense. And I apply that in my relationship with my wife. So I did answer the question.
All right. I also have
You've asked a few, no alsos. Let's go to someone else.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Noon. I'm wondering because as a Christian, I base my morality in like objective belief.
Oh, here we go. Morality.
So I'm wondering, as an atheist, what you perceive right and wrong as, And if you judge it based on what you personally view as right and wrong, what gives you the right to punish criminals or people who commit genocide if they're acting upon their own will and what they perceive as right?
Okay, so I think I heard you. When I'm done, if I didn't answer, come back. The question is, how do I define morality and what gives me the right? I don't think I have the right. Morality is made by societal judgments as a whole.
Make sure you don't pick up the wrong prop, Amy.
Behavior brings flourishing and freedom
If
for
I can pause right there, I do want to say
Never said
there's nothing more aggravating than that little dig that theists love to give. You don't have the right to yada yada yada. Guess what? Until you can demonstrate that your cuddle buddy that you pray to exists, nor do you. You don't have the right to tell me where your morality comes from until you can demonstrate that cuddle buddy is here and he's walking amongst us and we can meet him and talk to him. I hate that. It's absolutely absurd and ignorant.
Oh, but he'll give you everything after you die. Don't worry. You'll have all the proof you need then.
Then you'll have the evidence.
Oh, I get the streets of gold. I forgot about that. Let the church say amen. Amen.
Yeah. So it's an investment. You pay a little now, you get a lot later. After you die.
Don't make me get my organ out. I will do it.
Woohoo!
Choir boy.
Like actually now
What'd you say?
I said now I'm almost excited. I can see him doing it.
Oh, I'll do it. This is half YouTube studio, half recording studio.
Ooh.
I'll get you all to preaching.
If you're gonna get up, make sure you have pants on.
Oh, I wear pants. I'm not a disrespectful. Yeah.
And this isn't Chippendales, as much as I wish it was. No.
As excited as Amy would get for that, yeah.
Wait, no, that's supposed to be opposite. Well, yeah.
An individual relativist who decides right and wrong.
It's like he's giving directions to airplanes.
Sam Harris lays this out in his two.
That's how most pastors communicate. It's actually pretty cute.
Hand gestures.
Certain behavior contributes towards moral flourishing, and some behavior takes it away. We can assess this. It's not opinion, it's actually fact.
So if it's based on what society deems right and wrong, like you're saying.
No, I didn't say that.
I
didn't say that.
I thought you just said it was based on what society deems right and wrong.
I never said that. I said I don't have the right to punish somebody.
Oh, okay.
Societies and governments have that right. By the way, even if I were a Christian, I would believe that because of what Paul says in Romans 13. So it's not an individual assessment. Morality is determined by looking at human behavior and seeing
Maybe Amy can whip it out.
and flourishing or
Oh
lack of
my.
flourishing with
That
others.
costs extra,
So
though.
I'm not a societal relativist. Even though society,
You, at the commander level?
that
You got it.
society gives us education. Society has other roles and responsibilities.
So my question is that you keep saying that you're not sure if Jesus was real or not. Okay, so let's take out that part. And I just wanted to say, because the whole basis of Christianity is the
that part.
resurrection. How would you, Sean McDowell, disprove Christianity with your so-called evidence?
So-called evidence.
Christianity?
The resurrection, I mean.
Let me see what time it is. 12:20. Okay, so
How do you disprove something like that?
degree? Okay, the burden of proof.
What time is it?
on
Oh,
me to
I can disprove Jesus real quick.
Christianity Any more than the burden of proof is on you to disprove
Yeah.
every other religion who claims to have.
I got this shit down pat.
If somebody says Christianity,
He's going to take his pants off in about
I don't.
2 minutes.
I don't
Or
want to
less.
give anything away, but do you think this was the day where he was like, yes, I get to wear ripped jeans?
Yeah. They're going to come off in a minute.
Yes. Hallelujah. I got to play an atheist for a day.
Does it pay well?
No,
It
not
probably-
as well. Tell you.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't pay as well as lying to people about a Jesus.
That pays pretty well. Kent.
Yeah, you guys want me to call my brother and get him live? No, I'm kidding.
Ooh, my.
Oz and so.
And you get to sell the invisible product.
Oh no, I was talking.
Never ends out.
I was talking about my actual brother, not
Yeah.
that.
Oh, okay.
Not Dak's brother.
Oh, Dax loves him some Zoe.
You can't get enough of it.
And okay, we're probably gonna go for a little bit longer, and then we will open up the floodgates. I know there were people in chat that wanted to
Open the
talk with
zipper.
us. So we'll come on, have some fun, because we are skeptic and ranting among us. My God, he's sus.
My God.
Get him a curious girdle.
I know.
It's true. Show us that it's true, and give us the evidence for the resurrection. You see how burden of proof. I'll answer your question, but you see how the question is not on me to disprove it. The question is first on you to prove it if you want anyone to take it seriously. That's how it works. Now, growing up, I thought the Christian story was unique, that there was only a resurrection, I was told, in Christianity. But if you actually look at these ancient pagan mystery religions,
Exactly, Pavel. That's what I was saying before. It's like a bell that you can't unring.
you find an incredible similarity, the same kind of details you find in the Christian story. So Mithras was born of a virgin. Mithras had 12 disciples, claimed to be God, was a teacher, and was resurrected on the third day. So as you start to look at these stories and the parallels in the Christian story and the lack of positive evidence, you start to realize this is just another mythological story that more people believe from the ancient world. That's the quick take. But go ahead. Did you want to come back? We're good.
Ooh.
It's because they're
Come on back.
like when you come and you talk
my.
about these it's just like you said, these myths are just trying to explain natural phenomena. So
Look, all his friends looking at him like, no, man, it's just taking the mic off.
these myths to Christianity.
Yeah, like,
in that
huh?
sense.
Why not? Like, that's your opinion. There's just the similarities that I showed you. Why can't I compare them across these different religions?
Why can't I come?
All of these common threads. Why can't I compare them? Good question. All right, so here's the deal. We're running out of time.
Jesus will be back any minute now.
So I'm going to take the last 15 minutes and tell you about what I really do.
What do you mean?
So what I'm about to tell you is I've been lying to you all night.
Breaking that commandment.
You're
lying
not-
for Jesus.
I'm not an atheist. I actually teach at a Christian
I knew
university
it by the haircut. I
in
knew it by the fucking
California,
haircut.
a private school called Biola. And I teach at a private Christian school part-time as well, high school Bible. I am married.
Can we pause it real quick?
First met her in
Just really quick for the those that are watching, listening. You've never heard of this this gentleman. This is one of the this is one of the gentlemen, one of the people you can thank for the bullshit and often traumatic shit that happens within Christianity behind the purity movement. His dad, and their family are some of the originators of that. So you're looking at the face that has fucked up a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's trying to do it to more kids too.
Yeah, I just heard a video he did recently with Mike Winger, and the shit he was saying on there. I'm like, this is disgusting. This is absolutely disgusting that you're teaching these kids that if they have a sexual urge or they have a sexual desire, that there's something wrong with them. No, sir, there's something wrong with you.
Imagine just living your whole life thinking everything you think in all your biology is just wrong.
Yeah. Your natural desires. Just you having natural desires and feelings. You're going to go to hell. You're just going to go to hell.
You're evil. Yeah.
I particularly hate both hell theology and generational sin theology. The notion that just bad deeds being passed down from children to children.
Yeah.
I find both of those things disgusting.
Very
and
immoral.
the notion that, and just hell itself, the notion that you have the information the moment you start burning. Like that is when you actually start to burn, is when you actually have the information to make you not burn. I mean, that is irony, right? That is, God is like, oh, you can laugh about that while you're burning.
Yeah, I can't wait to see you burning in hell.
I hid all that evidence. Didn't I do a good job hiding from you? Didn't I? Didn't I? You didn't know I was real.
And so
should have listened to Ken Hovind.
I know there may be people that are about to disagree with. We're going to be wrapping up his portion. We'll go for maybe a minute or so longer to let him say his side of his shtick. But then I will also be sending the link into the chat if you disagree with anything that we are about to say.
Come in on unto us.
Oh, baby. And so I'll get that ready, and then I will play the rest, and feel free to tell me to pause whenever you think. But yeah, so here comes the end of the shtick. It's so funny, too, because if he was an atheist, it's almost like he would have done so much good, because he would have made everyone think and go away like, oh my gosh, I really need to think and come with better answers for my apologetics. But instead, they're going to come with, oh, one of ours is on the good side. Okay, we're gonna say, okay, whatever.
3rd grade, so I'm not a bad guy.
Wow.
I do this.
Wow. Literally, I say this all the time with this channel. It's like I make a joke and then they make it come true for me. But thank you.
A lot at different schools.
Hold on. What the fuck did he just say?
So he teaches 3rd grade, I thought, or part-time at a Christian school.
Married to my high school sweetheart. First met her in 3rd grade, so I'm not a bad guy.
Oh, okay.
I do this a lot.
That's why he's not a bad guy.
Usually, I set people up and let them know I'm a Christian first. But where are you? Where are you, Mr.
Look
Stewart?
how much what did it take him? 30 seconds to do all the goodness that he did. Oh my God, we're at 52 minutes exactly in. It took him less than 30 seconds to screw that
Basically,
up.
yeah.
Mr. Preacher Haircut McDowell, you do understand that, like, because you're a teacher and you have that sweet haircut, does not make you a good man, right? Like we have serial killers that have been married and had cute haircuts like yours.
I don't think that's a good metric.
Doesn't mean anything. I'm married and I teach. I'm a good guy.
Tremendous guy. Huge guy.
Trust me, kids, I've been married to my high school sweetheart. I could never do anything wrong. Where is my
What's Grinder on the phone? Is Grinder app is probably going off?
Yeah.
Amy's out to get him.
Dun, 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 dun. And okay,
He's
I'm going to send that
like
link
a fake
in.
Dr. Josh, like a Dr. Dumbass.
He's a wannabe.
Yeah.
left. He's like, I'm out of here now that he's revealing the truth. Oh, there you are. We're like, let's just see what happens if we set them up and make them think that I'm an atheist first, see if that changes the nature of the dynamic. So I'm a Christian. I'm actually an apologist. This is what I do. I've written, I don't know.
Lie to people.
I teach apologetics at a graduate program at Biola University. I speak and I debate atheists and others because I think it's fun. How many of you honestly were like, I knew it? No, you weren't. Like 6 or 7 of you. All right. Okay, so here's the deal. We only have about 15 minutes to go, and then I got to let you go. I want to make you think about a few things, all right? First off, don't answer this. Why don't you reflect in your heart a little bit?
Each of us has a purpose. We are destined to do something meaningful. What do you think of?
All right. Thank you, capitalism. And guys, do you remember, is there anything else that you want to go over, or did he go over your main, I want to say, points or unpoints?
James, you go first.
Yeah. I mean, is it like you say? He did it's like it is. You ring a bell and you can't unring it, and hopefully a couple of these kids will at least have certain ideas in their head. They'll think more about certain things, and maybe some good will come of it. But unfortunately, a lot of it is just going to be their beliefs will be reinforced, and yeah.
Yeah, I think it just will now do all the opposite of any good that he was trying to do. But I think that's the point, is to strengthen Christianity. That's the whole shtick.
Yeah.
And okay, I think we're going to hand it over to Oz. And then once Oz is done, we're going to open up the floodgates and have some fun for some just an open conversation. And that'll be the night. So we have been Skeptic and Ranting among us. Oz, the floor is yours.
Since they're wrapped up, I do want to pause real quick, and I want to congratulate Bryce and Wes and Trent. They had their first live show, the Bryce is Right show, on the Tang channel tonight, and they fucking killed it. They killed it, and I could not be more proud of those guys. So great job, gentlemen, and like I said, a big smile on my face all night. You guys did the damn thing. But going back to this topic, the last thing I'll say is, and we don't have to watch it, but there is a segment there at the end where Mr. Sean McDowell talks about how he was treated when he was there as the atheist, and there was actually one of the kids. He said, "How do you guys feel like you treated the guest atheist?" And there was one kid out in the crowd. He was like, "Terrible," and because there were some of them I feel were very generous and kind, but there were a couple that did the what I would say, and I'm trying to use this this wording or this phrasing more just so we can keep everything equal, is our YouTube Christians, that they would have responded that way. Are you married? Well, that's kind of personal. Answer me, and that kind of stuff. Like if you want to have productive conversation, that's not how you do it. Now, I do believe, to steal from the Bible, that there is a time and a place and a season for everything, and 95% of the time, it's 100% makes sense to have a calm, cordial, peaceful conversation. And there's other people that they don't understand how to have a peaceful, calm, cordial conversation. So you have to meet their energy with your energy, and try to do it. Or if not, there's no point in anybody even speaking, at that point. So, but that's all I'd say. I think the end of it, as much as I'm not a fan of McDowell at all, especially because of his support of the purity culture. I'm totally anti all that bullshit. But I will say, I feel like he did a pretty damn good job of steel manning the atheist position, and there was a couple times where he did the big word thing, like a lot of our YouTube Christians love to do. Instead of answering the question, they just use big words and dance, right? Instead of actually answering the question. And there's a couple times where he went to genetics or what town you were born in, that kind of thing, which would be all pointed out by a good interlocutor. But at the end of the day, I hope that all of us can do more things like that to make an impact on both communities, and help all of us learn how to better engage each other and have more efficient and productive conversations. So at the end of the day, I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome that you did that.
And yeah, I would say I would agree with everything you said. And I would just add on to that. It kind of breaks my heart that he both was able to steel man us and that he advocates for such a purity culture, because I view that as such a toxic thing. There's nothing wrong with trying to be pure. There's nothing wrong with pure water and all this type of thing. It's when those type of notions of purity run away that they become counterproductive. And it's not about keeping sanitary. It's about making sure which sexualities are correct, which seems like quite a pivot.
They're very concerned about your genitalia, Amy, and what you do with them, and
Yeah.
that's
All of a sudden, it seems like less of a book. I'm trying to think what the word is. Book sharing class, and more of a inspect your genitals class.
And I do want to say one last thing. Yes, Aunt Jur, I do struggle with that word. I'm not even going to try to say it because I can never say it. And my wife teases me all the time. My wife teases me all the time because I can't say. See, this is sound like a retard trying to say. Burger, like when somebody's trying to break in your house and steal shit. Like I can't say it. Like
burglar.
Burglar.
Really?
And
I can't say water. I say water.
Water.
And I can't say what is it? People that like raise and take care of horses. Equest.
I should know.
Equester. I can't say it. See, if she was here, she'd do.
The sport is equestrian, but I don't know if that's what they call the people who raise them.
Equestrian.
Well, whatever. It's the same word that that's what she told me. She raised horses, but I don't know. I'm a city boy, but she always laughs because I can't say those words. And she's like, how is it that you talk all the time? These two words you can't say. And now I found a new one when I've started getting into debates and atheism stuff. I'm like, nope, can't say that shit either.
I have a lot of them I can't say. Half the words in the Bible, I'm just like, yeah, I'm just guessing.
Seesaw.
Maybe I'm just throwing in letters just because they're
doorknob had put in there. And see him doing that, I can say it. Equestrian. Like I can do it spelled out. But if I was in a conversation tomorrow, I wouldn't be able to say it unless somebody like put it on paper like that for me.
That's okay. If you were to look at like in actual speech, it would just be nothing but red letters. Like I have like a middle school, maybe high school if I'm lucky, spelling, grammar. But then because of Grammarly, it just goes woo.
Have you ever been diagnosed with ADD?
Like I know what I'm talking about.
Yep. And Aunt Jur, yes,
Why is that?
Josh McDowell, his whole family are responsible for introducing people to the purity bullshit culture.
Yeah, no fun. Just accept people for who they are. And okay, so that brings us to our open mic session of Skeptic and Ranting Among Us. We have been chilling with Oz as we watched. I'm gonna say a Christian. He did a good, like I said, good job, as Oz said, a good job steel manning us. It just horrifies me that he's knowing all that he still comes to the purity type of culture that he does. But with that being said, And okay, Mark Reed, we have been skeptic and ranting among us. How are you, and what are your thoughts?
Hello, everybody. Hey, Amy.
Hey,
Oz,
Mark.
James. Good to see you all. Really good to see you. Yeah, I'm really ambivalent about that video. It kind of like I agree with both James and Oz there. He steel-manned a lot of points that atheists make, but at the same time he did others that were strawmans, like
Right.
the universe one. He said at one point that the universe, was a multiverse kind of thing, and then presented that as scientific fact when it clearly isn't. Which I felt like was just a straw man. Like, we don't know if there's a multiverse. We don't know what the cosmos is like, the higher level of past the universe. So I feel like he was both straw manning and steel manning, if that makes sense.
It's a very subtle straw man, though. It's very subtle.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's kind of like I also agree with Amy. It's kind of heartbreaking that these guys will go, oh well, none of those are good arguments. They're all trash because they're obviously just presented to us to, sort of mess with our minds kind of thing, and they'll instantly discount them. And I don't know if these kids will look any further if they're actually in some kind of philosophy or theology course. But the general feeling was at the end that I got for me was that, hey, you can just dismiss all of that because I don't really mean it, and they're bad arguments that come from atheists. At the same time, I think later on in the video, we may not have gotten to that part, but he was sort of saying, look at your own reactions to an atheist saying what they believe and realize that you can be a complete jerk, that you feel threatened by these ideas kind of thing, and to be more accepting of atheists' ideas like you would a Christian's ideas. And that's, I didn't know he was sort of one of the founders of that purity movement, which is just, Ames, that's heartbreaking, because he does have a good point that we bring up disagreements and theists lose their minds. They go crazy. The level of hostility that we get for merely disagreeing with someone is intense sometimes.
Very.
Which
unfortunately.
And Mark, if I can jump in here and just see if you guys
sure.
agree with me, see if you guys agree with me or not. The like a few of the straw men that I did here, I didn't really highlight it because I felt like it was part of the shtick. Like, he wanted to see if there was any of those kids that had been paying attention during class to say, whoa, like that's not a valid argument. What you're saying doesn't line up with what I've been taught. And to see if they would call out things, based on their education. And I could be wrong, and that's why I'm asking to see how you guys felt. I felt like there was a couple of them that were almost intentional to see if some of the students, because I think there was a senior class in there.
Well, perhaps that is possible. I mean, but if that's the case, then the students failed because none of them pushed back on the strawman in any sort of way that you would expect. And sort of, we wouldn't. I noticed that while you guys were discussing it, you guys were bringing up, sort of stuff that they could push back with and just simply didn't.
Yeah.
So if that was his intention, then the students definitely didn't sort of, measure up to what he was testing for.
String theory is not proven. Multiverse isn't proven.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reason I said that is because, like I said early in the stream, after getting kicked out, I was sent to a Christian private school where they taught, regular classes, but also apologetics, and we had our separate Bible, biblical history classes, things like that. And when I was going through it, I was like, the Bible. I was actually very unimpressed. If these truly were seniors, I truly was unimpressed that if they're going to this school where that you can tell they learned a good amount of creationism, and that foundation was there. But to be able to talk about any other position, they were clueless. They were clueless on how to address any other position.
Philosophy.
lightly. They were a little bit lightly and philosophy, but they wanted to go back to, well, God is the origin. It comes down to creation,
right? The creation, yeah.
And I think that's where they got tripped up almost every single time, and that, I think that says, yeah, it's sucks for the kids because now they're on YouTube, get exposed. But I think it really speaks loudly to the Christian religious education system, where it's
You
like,
mean
okay,
sort of the narrowness of it, the sort of narrow focus of it that doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you put them in that setting, it's like, okay, hopefully they're getting their, their English and their arithmetic, and they're getting all that. But if they're going to this private Christian school for this private Christian education to be equipped to be apologists or pastors or ministers or whatever, and they're seniors, and the guy comes in giving really pretty basic arguments, and they're fumbling like that, to me it's like, why do that?
Well, I do agree with that to a degree, but on the other hand, not everybody that goes to a Christian school is going to become a pastor or apologist or whatever. Like, they do just general education, and I doubt that in a middle school, they, like any school, they will touch on multiverse and stuff in any degree at all. Yeah, I think that you're right to a degree that some of the school's educations are very narrow focused, but others are not. So I don't think that's I think you maybe, to my mind, painting with a bit of a broad brush there. I know that over here where I live in Australia, a lot of the Catholic schools, they could be easily equivalent to a secular school education.
That's where our disconnect is, and that's my bad, because in the States, if you go to a like the school that was a part of that, like the evangelical charismatic, there is no broad education. This is what we believe,
right?
Is what it is. So that's probably why you and I have that disconnect, because there isn't a broad education. It's creation, and there's no other option.
I think the Catholic ones probably do a little bit better of a job than the Protestant ones, just because the Catholic education, they've been doing it so long and they're so big, as opposed to these little Protestant churches setting it up just for themselves.
Well, I find generally Catholics are more accepting of science and a secular stuff than the evangelicals over here, at least. That they will teach secular stuff.
Where McDowell, not the elementary school that he says he teaches part-time, but and the name's escaping me now, but the college he actually teaches at is 100% like evangelical, down your throat creation. Like that is creation, purity culture, like all that like that is his backbone.
Might as well be Patriot University.
I don't know what that is.
Ken Hovind's university. That's where Hovind went to college. Yeah.
I thought he did his doctorate online through an unaccredited one, kind of thing.
Yeah, Patriot University. Online.
So the non-university, that's great. I love that our world's got.
It's not accredited, but I worked very hard on my degree. I got 10 years high school science.
My books are in the hallway.
I did an exhaustive dissertation on whale penises, and they're 15 feet long.
You and me both.
The other point I want to make is at the end where he said, I married my high school sweetheart, which makes me automatically a good guy, because of course it does. It actually reminded me of what a woman over here said, whose name is Grace Tame. She was Australian of the Year. It was about the Prime Minister talking to his kids about sexual assault and things, and then he made decisions based upon his conversation. And she said it shouldn't take having children, or a wife, I'll just add, to have a conscience. And then she said, and actually on top of that, having children doesn't guarantee a conscience. And I'd say the same about a wife as well.
Right, man. And okay, we're moving along. We have been skeptic and ranting. Fuck it's not. I keep on trying to give Darth on Tangela's accent. It's like Darth on Tangela.
Like if they had a child together.
Oh no, Darth Tangelo.
Darth
Science has gone too far. Stop.
Yeah, science gone too far.
The thing of
Darth
nightmares.
I'm doing it wrong. I'm trying to think. Focus, Amy. Focus. There we go. Richer, a little bit darker. We have been skeptic and ranting. Focus.
F-U-C-U-S. What does that spell? Did Mark see the video? Maybe he doesn't know what we're talking about.
I don't know. I never know what anyone's talking
Amy with Darth Dawkins, the debate she had with him on Discord.
I thought you were
haven't
talking
watched
about a
it.
date. Okay. Different time.
A debate with Darth Dawkins? Yeah, a date.
I was thinking of a date. Yes, it's that
Yeah.
time we were.
You and Darth.
Can you imagine that debate? Like what do you do for a living? No, answer my question. Like you haven't answered my question.
A debate, a date.
Yeah.
If he's an,
Imagine that.
I wipe my mother's ass. That's what Darth would say.
Ooh.
What Darth would say.
And do you want fries with that? No.
But yeah, check that out when you get a chance. Darth made a nice ass of himself several times.
Well, standard stuff then.
And okay, we're moving down the line. Nick, we have been skeptic and ranting among us. How are you? And what are your thoughts about everything we've been talking about so far?
I love how you bring up the magnifying glass and you've got all the props. That's just like also when you bring up the heart too. I haven't decided. I'm gonna be as charitable as I can with the heart and try not to say it's creepy. Because, oh dear Lord! Between that and Darth Tangelo, I've got to tell you, this has already started to turn into kind of like a nightmare for me. I'm gonna be traumatized. The amount of therapy I'm gonna need to recover from this stream is gonna put some psychologist kid through college. I honestly, I was going to sit there and say, I was thinking of what to say when I come on, and I was just like, yeah, I really thought I was going to come up with something original, and I don't think I am. I think I'm going to agree probably with everybody. I think I don't know if you guys said who he was early on or saved that for a grand reveal at the end. I missed some of the stream, but I caught most of it, and I had no idea. So when it turned out who he was, I was like, oh shit. So I mean, while he was talking, I got a little frustrated because I said, okay, he's not using the best arguments here,
right?
But there isn't. I mean, I've been around atheists and theists for a very long time. I've been in the debating community for a long time, done a lot of debates, and I've had plenty of people criticize me for not using the best argument. All his arguments were credible. I believed that he was at least somewhat above the amateur rate of arguing the atheist position. So he was credible.
He knows our points. He knows our talking points. Yeah,
it was sufficient to call him. I truly believed. There was no point at which I didn't. There was no point at which I hadn't bought it. So I the whole time I felt okay. I rated him in my view like a B or a B plus. I was like, okay. Yeah, so he was doing a good job, and he treated everybody with respect, which I was like, okay, he's doing everything he's supposed to. So I do think whatever the purpose of that was, whether to gauge how these students can deal with that kind of thing or not, I think there's one other purpose, whether it's conscious or not, which is some of those arguments were even if they weren't necessarily the best form of the argument, were pretty decent forms of the arguments that atheists and anti-theists are trying to make. So I'm sitting there going like, I'm not sure. I started saying, look, is Jesus God or not? I was like, oh, okay, because after this, you're going to get into the problem of evil. And in my view, that's as close to a defeater as I've ever seen. For me, the logical problem of evil. So, and he handled that pretty well. And so I'm sitting there going, okay, what happens next? And I think everybody has sort of hit the nail on the head with what I think would happen next, which is that people are going to sit there. I would have liked to, if he's just truly going to be fair, this may sound counterintuitive, but I would have liked to hear him say, by the way, just so you guys know, here are the counters to all the arguments that I gave. So everybody said these things. Here's the counters to the Jesus argument, to all these other ones. If for no other reason, then so that they might sit there and try to employ those counters themselves against an atheist and then get real challenges back. It looks like, and I didn't see the rest of this, but it looks like it was just sort of, okay, we're done. Now, that reinforces, actually, really at even a behaviorist level, that reinforces oh, I don't have to think about this because people who are smarter than me got it covered. He's got it covered. And it's funny because let's assume for a second, now I'm sure if he does any apologetics, he's probably got at least some answers to some of these things. But what if he didn't? Let's assume for a second that these arguments are total defeaters to him and he's got nothing. But what he does is he goes out, he does this whole thing, and now none of his disciples, followers, I don't know what you want to call them, are going to question these things anymore because they're going to assume he's got them. It's almost a magic trick because now it's like, oh, listen, he copped to it. He mimicked their moves. That means he's got it. And I was like, that's not what it means.
I've heard these before. I've heard that stuff before. It's not a big deal.
And I don't have to bother learning it. I don't have to bother learning. So people who might have been interested in engaging because they had some questions might be shut down because of this. Now, I agree that there are others who are naturally inclined towards more objective and rational thought who are going to pick up on the fact that he didn't answer them. And they're going to sit there and say, wow, those were really good questions. Why didn't he answer them? And they may not even say that in a way where they're suspecting him, but they're just going to sit there and go, wait, I wanted the answers. Those were good questions. I wanted the answers. And then they're going to research for themselves. But that's going to be a minority compared to, in my view, every other group, including the ones that now have permission in their own minds to shut off any discussion because I don't know what the answers are, young atheist who's talking to me, but I know there are some because I met this guy who killed it with everybody, so I'm not going to listen. So that was for me one of the really sad things about it. But yes, I have to concur. He was absolutely credible. He wasn't stellar, but he was credible. So that's my view.
I don't know, Nick. Do you think they would bring it up in class and stuff, and then they'd be given sort of the what they think is the defeater in class? Is that maybe the setup?
I would imagine they would. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
But you see, the thing is, I think it comes down to whatever any given teacher or anybody would want to do in terms of the defeaters, and by that point, nobody's going to remember the argument in its strongest form. So you can sit there and say, well, really, what he was arguing was X, Y, and Z, and if this is even a day later, you can frame how they remember it too, and say, okay, well, in fact, they can frame it all as tricks that even maybe he didn't employ or use, so they can straw man it post hoc much easier and say, well, he remember when he was talking about the pigs and he admitted X, Y, and Z, but nobody picked up on, and here's where you could have gone, and here's where, and say that he said or implied things that he did not. So why is there a shark there?
Oz is AFK, I think.
That's Oz.
That's Oz. Okay.
Don't.
Yes, this is just a delightful stream so far.
He's actually just resting right now. That's what all sharks do. But eventually, he'll come back out of hibernation.
Eyes open and yeah.
Okay.
And it's funny that you say that because there may actually be blood in the water to draw his attention. Sunflower, we have been skeptic and ranting.
Dun, dun.
On Among Us. How are you, and what are your thoughts about anything we've been talking about, the topic, or anything we've been talking about?
How's my mic level? Is it too quiet?
I think it's good.
Seems fine.
It seems fine to me. It's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where to begin. I don't have anything too particularly pertinent here. I mean, I kind of just, I guess, wanted to come hang out, maybe, shoot the breeze a little bit. I was disappointed because I thought that maybe at least some of the people didn't know the shtick of that video. I think maybe Mark seemed like he didn't know, but then as I was watching, it's like everyone already knew, and I was like, oh well.
Didn't know what?
That the guy was a Christian.
Oh no, I knew.
Oh,
I just wasn't spoiling it for anybody, just in case they.
That
didn't,
was Nick.
Well, yeah, but I think he wanted somebody on the actual panel watching it for the first time to get their honest takes on it, as opposed to interlocutors who actually already knew. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a big deal or anything. I was just at first I was like, oh wow, these people Amy and James and Oz are watching this and they don't know, and then it was like, oh, they all know, and then it was like, oh, everyone knows. But no, it's fine because you guys at least gave commentary that I understand now, the context of it. Yeah, I don't really feel the need to derail anything here. So I guess I'll just chime in if I have anything pertinent, but I don't want to derail the conversation into like some petty thing I had in the side chat, so I won't do that.
Okay.
Well, thank you for coming on, Sunflower, and that sounds good. And yeah, part of the debate was how much known should we make it, and so I think I kind of went with in between. I think the title kind of gives away that something's up, but I didn't want to give it away exactly, especially if you are not a Gen Zer. This title will probably go over your head. You'll probably say Among Us is that thing
Amy,
I don't know about.
Amy, I was just hoping that you did that, like for sort of yourself, but then you brought on James and Oz without telling them, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I want to see. I mean, this is just me like monologuing.
No, actually, I found this video and then I set it up with Oz. Hey, this is Amy's first time seeing it.
Again,
Well, and
I've never.
I feel like an idiot too because I kept sitting there going, "What does this got to do with Among Us?" My kids play that game, so I may not
Oh,
be that.
really?
My kids play it like crazy. My daughter gets together with her cousin, and they sit there and like, "Did you realize that if you have one person with a name and the other person with the other half of the name, you can put two people on top of each other, then nobody knows it looks like one person. And if you murder them, it's just like, holy."
You mean like Darth Tangelo?
Darth Tangelo, yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
I have a feeling it's going to be a long night. I'm just okay. I'm going to have an episode. At any rate,
Luke, I am your father.
I am Darth Tangelo. Answer questions.
So I didn't figure it out. I had all the hints and I didn't figure it out. Okay.
I feel like that's an interesting format for Amy, for anyone else to do, is to like to bring like-minded people on and then like kind of show them a video without telling them and just be like, hey, want to come on for a stream and react to this in real time? This is just me ranting at this point. I still think that the stream tonight was interesting, but I was like, oh, that would be even more interesting if like if they didn't even know. I don't know, whatever.
Hey, the hardest is what he probably did, which is going in there and then because I could feel the tension, so I give him props for going in there and weighing the. I just think it would have been funnier if he was just like, and that's it. And then he left.
As someone who's
I'm
gone
an
into like
atheist,
the den of lambs at some point, as Nephilim calls it, it is really tense. Like I give him full props for that, and he was smooth, calm, collected. Yeah, no, he did a really good job.
He's a polished speaker. He's got lots of experience. So yeah.
And okay, we're moving along. Jason, we have been skeptic and ranting on Among Us. I have to have my shtick. I can't help it. How are you? And what are your thoughts?
Hey, Jason.
Hey, what's up, guys? Good to see you. So I'm glad you did the review of this. That was great. I don't know if you know that Pine Creek did a review of this.
Oh, really?
And so
I did not see that.
Yeah, if you get a chance, check that out because he's pretty good, and he goes through and talks a lot about the guy's questions and how people were responding. But the two things I would bring up with this were, one, Oz made a comment that this technique is a good technique to kind of steel man particular approaches, and it would be a good thing for atheists to do, to steal, for have an atheist play a Christian and to go through those arguments to test out, your responses to that and how that might work.
Oz does that sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach. Clearly, this guy feels like it's a good approach. I think he did a decent job. I would agree with like what Nick was saying on that topic, but part of me feels like the only reason he's really doing this, obviously, is to set up his fellow Christians to come up with defeaters for particular positions, to get them thinking about how they can defeat those ideas.
Didn't he say that he did this because he wanted to show like, don't treat atheists poorly? Doesn't he say that at the end of the video? He's like
that was part of it.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, look, maybe that's not the real intention, and maybe you're right, Jason. But I do think he does say like, "Hey guys, Christianity teaches not to be cold and confrontational and accusatory like you guys all just were, but it teaches to be more sort of like, whatever, loving, whatever." I mean, he said that. Maybe that wasn't his real intention, but I do think he goes on to say that later.
I think that must have been at least partly his intention, because the feeling that he sort of invoked in the kids there was one of, do we regret what actions we took towards somebody that we thought was an atheist, right? I have to agree with Sunflower. That was at least partly his intention.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point. I mean, I think the response to that, and I don't know if you want to take me off the big screen, it's fine. We could just have a conversation on it. But
and thank you so very much, Jason.
Yeah, great. One that I'm all in favor for people kind of having articulate, debates on particular topics to seek the truth, and then frankly, because I feel like atheists have such a strong position, like I want those debates, because I feel like if we have an honest discussion, then we have the strong position. I'm not interested in like trying to come up with a gotcha on somebody, because I think that right. I want to seek the truth, and I think that what we're doing is that in that respect. So if that's where he's coming from, great. I'm a little reticent on that topic, given his background and what some other folks have mentioned.
Yeah,
if that's truly his motive. But if it is, then that's noble, and I think that's good.
Well, what I would say is, I mean, like, look, they know most of these kids are going to go off to college in a year or two. And that's where most of these people lose their faith, because they could be sheltered at home, but they go off to college and all of a sudden they're exposed to these new ideas. Yeah. And maybe they're having interactions with a lot of atheists for the first time. And then they get these questions and they start looking into it. They find out they don't have good reason for their faith. So I think he's trying to like expose them to that before they get there.
Yeah,
vaccinate versus
vaccinate. Yeah.
Oh,
while they're still being protected, yeah.
Well, I think one thing you can do too is just ask yourself, okay, so he's one of the purity guys. So ask yourself, is it a realistic expectation that he believes everything he says or everything he espouses in regards to purity? And my suspicion is the answer is yes. It's a reasonable expectation that he really believes this, that he's not a cynic. And if that's the case, then I have to believe that was in fact at least one of the motivations, because if I were him and I held those beliefs, I would do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you're like what James was saying, and Nick, what you're saying is right on point, because he wants like better to hit him with the hardest positions possible while you're in an environment where we can discuss it, and then I can hit you with the hard argument, then I can come back and be like, but I'm a Christian, right. And here's so then they're like, wow, he hit us with really hard arguments, and he's a Christian. What does that mean? Mm-hmm. So it's a nice tactic that he has taken. So I give him credit for that.
Do you think it plays in any way into that sort of thing that we keep getting, that's like atheists really do believe kind of thing? That you can put up these arguments, but really deep down, written on your heart and all of that stuff.
It could be
written on your
heart.
And
it annoys me so much. But
that's one reason they like it.
Yeah,
because I mean, Mark, the Bible says you're just in denial.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was gonna bring that up in Atheist Junior's stream. I think that Tangelo was there, and atheists do it as well. They're sort of like, well, I'm going to read your mind, and you don't really believe, kind of thing. And then all you get is two different sets of people, each telling the other what they believe, and it's pointless. Like it goes nowhere.
Well, please, I don't want to interrupt.
No, go for it, Nick. Go.
Well, the conversation's over. The second that happens, the conversation is over.
Right.
And the reason is, in order to have a dialogue or any kind of discussion, there are a few assumptions that have to be made, and you have to keep an eye out. One assumption is presumably that the other side is in fact telling you the truth, because if somebody is arguing something that they don't believe, then you can't operate.
An honest interlocutor.
Yeah,
exactly.
you might.
So when it becomes obvious that they're not, if it ever becomes obvious, then you don't argue harder. The discussion is over. But what they're doing is they're saying, well, you don't even know you're being dishonest, but you are being dishonest. You're being dishonest to yourself. Well, they are now undermining the idea that you can even argue your position. So if they refuse to come to the table with the very first premise you have to have in any discussion, which is that each side is empowered to argue that position, the discussion is done. So in my view, it's like, if you're going to make that argument, we're done, because I cannot prove or disprove what's in my own mind. It's over.
This is why Darth and the precepts have such a strong position, and I want to give them credit for that. They're the toughest folks for these arguing positions. I know a lot of people are like, oh, they call them names, whatever, but to come back and hit atheists, scientists, whatever, with the position, you can't be certain of this. Inevitably, an honest atheist or scientist is going to say, you're correct. I can't honestly say that I don't absolutely know that that's not possible. Those are that. And I'm surprised that somebody didn't come back at him with that as he was playing the atheist, to say, how can you positively know any of these things? It's not impossible that God exists. It is possible, right, Sean?
Can I just ask? I'm just going to throw in one extra
strong position. I think it's a confident position. I'm not entirely convinced it's strong, as in logically strong.
Darth wouldn't answer any questions. That was my gosh, after coming back from that pit, it's like, I understand why he thinks that he is the way like he is, because if you're the only person who's allowed to ask questions and you never have to answer any questions,
He's interrogating you.
Then then it's his game, and he's the one playing the basketball, and you're not even allowed to touch the ball.
He's the cat, you're the mouse.
But remember,
he just wants where only he's got a room, and only he is allowed to ask questions in that room. He literally has special rules for himself.
Yeah, of course.
Which I left that server. It was like, what are you?
Don't ever.
Crazy?
If you go on the Reformation server, be ready to get banned and muted. That you just have to be ready for that.
He sounds like a megalomaniac.
I'll pass, thanks.
He does two things.
Like a megalomaniac. I've never interacted with Darth Dawkins, but from what I've heard, he just sounds like an egotistical maniac.
Well, I mean, remember, his goal is to make you sound incoherent. His goal is not to argue that he knows what he knows through special and divine revelation that has been ordained and revealed to him. That is that's the last place he wants to go.
He's just trying to gotcha.
You don't want to go there.
Yeah.
Isn't that the Socratic method, though, just in a more obnoxious sort of way?
It is, but only if it is only like one person is playing the game, then it's
Socrates was one guy. They made him drink the hemlock, so maybe that's what Darth Dawkins is coming to. I'm just kidding.
I agree. It's just that I think a lot of skeptics love the Socratic method. I think that is our jam. It's just I mean, he has conversations with Tangelo, trying to figure out why atheists don't like him. Like, he is like trying to get the PR game. Like, I will get them to like you, Darth. Don't not to worry. We'll have a good conversation. And it's because you got to be able to have the ball, feel like you're being honest. You got to feel like people are there to not win. You have to feel like people are there to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Well, he does two things that I think are dishonest, and the Socratic method is fine, but it does cut both ways in a dialogue, in a discussion. But he had two that I was thinking of in this particular thing, and I think in his overall approach. First is he tries to get you to admit that you have a burden of proof, which he uses the Stanford Encyclopedia, and we can get into that in a second. He says, I only take the first paragraph of it. I was like, hey, I've read the entire thing. I know it says that this is one possible use, but there are others. No, we're going to use mine because. But at any rate, so first he tries to get you to do that, and then he plays a game of essentially affirming the consequent, which is that if you fail in your burden, he has just proved God. No,
Yeah. if you fail, that means you have failed. It does not mean he has succeeded meeting his burden. It's called affirming the consequent, and he gets people to intuitively go into that mindset where it's like, oh, that guy failed to disprove God, ergo God. No. So that's the first one. Then the second one is, he won't let anybody, even if there are other reasonable definitions, like so he's like, no, I'm gonna set up the rules that the conversation has to be had in this particular That's his
way.
script.
Well, this sounds
and it's
like-
sort of even if there are other acceptable uses, he's like, well, in philosophy that's the best one. Okay, demonstrate to me that that's the best one, and I will go forward with it. He's like, well, no, that's accepted. No, it's not. It's accepted in like the Stanford Encyclopedia. They say there are others. Why are we going to use yours? And
Like Oz debating the definition of what a dog is. I mean, you just run around in circles for 45 minutes. And
He sounded like Christian Ask Yourself.
remember when Darth was like Oz, and Oz is like Darth.
Mm-hmm.
And
It just
okay.
sounds like the vegan YouTuber Ask Yourself. That's
Oh,
the way
yeah.
he kind of directs
Ask
stuff.
Ask Yourself is really smart. I really
No.
like him, and
Okay.
he's really gone at logically, putting logical propositions together against Darth, particularly on the. If you're an agnostic, you're indirectly an atheist. He has broken that down to the point where
fair enough.
Darth is confused. Like
I
Darth has a
think
hard time
Ask
understanding.
Yourself is smart, but I think he's also a megalomaniac, and I think he.
Oh, maybe so. Yeah.
I think
Maybe so.
that he sort of, I don't want to say masquerades, but I think that his like motivating.
I did not hear that right.
What did I say?
No, it's my sound. You're good.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, it seems like Ask Yourself his only real goal is to like literally get his opponent to say I concede, like on the record of the debate, which is just weird. It's like he really is obsessed with forcing his opponents into like vocally admitting like they concede. He's a smart person, and he does have a good grasp on formal logic. The way you just described Nick, the way you just described Darth, it just reminded me of the way Ask Yourself conducts himself.
And okay, we'll go back and
my Lord, kumbaya.
We'll go back and over conversation. But Bird, we have been skeptic and ranting on Among Us. Among Us. I was like, for a second, I was like, that's not the right title. No, that is the right title. How are you?
What's up, Bird?
Hey, Bird.
What
Bird
up,
is the
y'all? Yeah, just here to listen. Maybe chime in whenever. That's my intro. Thanks so much.
Here's what I know is the bird is the word.
That's right.
Bird is the word.
Bird is the word. Yeah.
Oh, but I want to say one thing, Bird. I am completely addicted now to Mark. What is the name? Rebier?
Mark Rebier. Yeah, he's badass.
Oh my God, I am addicted to that guy. I watched his Sunday service for like 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Blew me away. Yeah.
All off the cuff.
Who is he?
He's he does like improv music, and it's absolutely phenomenal.
He's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to get on it. I want to see him on tour. So
I do want to. I just saw a comment in the chat from Brian Stevens about Pine Creek. Pine Creek single-handedly has the best way to deal with Darth Dawkins, and that's not to answer any questions and just talk about Jesus.
Talk about Jesus. Yep.
It is the single greatest way to get that idiot to shut up.
Oh my goddess.
It is
unreal.
brilliant.
I want to see footage of that. If somebody's done that, somebody drop me a link. I want to see that.
I'm telling Pine Creek has done it, and Darth he gets so mad and rage quits.
I'll get it
and
right
he's
now.
like, I just want to talk about Jesus. He said, and he
concedes everything. He
said, I concede everything
that Darth says.
I'm wrong.
My worldview is incoherent.
Yeah,
I'm
wrong.
completely-
You're right. Just tell me.
Well, now let's talk about Jesus. Yeah.
And he's like, no, you're an atheist. I mean, it's absolutely hilarious.
Well, that's how what's his name gets around it too. Is he won't do Bible study with atheists explicitly for that reason. Side 10.
Who says that? Oh, he's side 10. Yeah.
Yeah. Pine Creek's just like, look,
We do Bible studies with atheists.
I concede my position is incoherent. I am incoherent. I want to talk about Jesus. Tell me about Jesus. And
I have no basis for anything. Everything is random.
Totally.
that's just trolling.
So one thing I don't understand about Darth's position is, like, he says that our position is incoherent. I don't understand why his position isn't incoherent, because as far as I know, he believes in the Trinity.
Yes.
And the Trinity is supposed to be 3 and 1 at the same time. And what I don't understand, and maybe this is my lack of knowledge, is how can something be 1 and not 1?
They'll say that's a category error.
Yeah, category fallacy. Yeah.
But remember, his goal is to make your position sound incoherent, and that his argument is that his position is coherent because he can absolutely know that God exists through this divine revelation, and that your position is you can't absolutely know it. So because you can't know what's fundamental, your position is incoherent. But the reality is that he can't know that. We can't know it. The question is, who has the greater likelihood of knowing? Like,
I'm sorry, what do you mean by fundamental? What do you mean by
well, like Darth's thing is like, what is the fundamental precondition that founds all intelligibility and fact?
You have to pick something arbitrary to base everything else on.
Where does facts and reason come from? What
logically foundational?
Hold on, Mark. Hold on. I'm going to answer this. You're thinking logically, and you cannot. It's an unanswerable question. Yeah, I'm just being honest. It's an unanswerable question.
Well, it's
my bad. I'm sorry.
It's a good question.
It's a good question.
There's a way to get there logically.
Terrible question.
There's a way to get there logically, which is okay. So here's the problem, and this is why knowledge, science had to completely switch on a paradigm, and where science really started to become powerful when it accepted the fact you cannot prove anything.
Exactly.
You cannot prove anything. That gets into a problem. Now, eventually, as you break down, if you apply global skepticism to absolutely everything, you're going to resolve to one of 3 different things: either infinite regress, brute fact, or circular reasoning. All knowledge is based on one of those. Well, now wait a minute. If all logic ultimately resolves to one of those, how do we have logic? We don't know. We don't know. And this gets into Hume's problem of induction and what are called properly basic beliefs. These are beliefs that we must all accept as essentially as brute facts on some form of faith in order to operate.
So are you saying that nothing can can be proved by pure reason?
No, we can't.
That's right. Not proven 100%.
That is true.
We
so
do. Shannon,
everything Nick just said is true, and atheists hate it.
Shannon Q already handled all this shit.
Yeah, she has.
Cheesecake. It's
brilliant.
So the only point I want to get to is what he's doing is he's adding another layer and says if you add another layer called metaphysics and you add this other layer and we ground it in that and we just say, hey, the problem is solved by God in this metaphysical realm where none of this is applicable. The problem is you say, okay, demonstrate your metaphysics, and any proof he does will resolve to one of the same 3 elements. So he can't do it. He can't do it either. So then the question is, how do you operate then going forward on the assumption neither of us can?
It almost becomes a probabilistic aspect. It's like which one has the higher probability of being true, because neither of us can prove it's absolutely true. So that you're going to tell me that scientific, rational positions have less of a probability of knowing what's true than somebody saying it was revealed to me by somebody that I may be deluded.
But can't I prove that something exists to you by sort of saying, well, you have thoughts, therefore something exists, therefore
I think therefore I am.
You can't prove it. You can't prove it to 100% absolute certainty.
Maximal certainty. Yeah.
And you could prove maximal certainty, but not absolute certainty.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Sorry.
There are
fallibility.
Presuppositions you need. You need logic. The laws of logic, and you need I think therefore I am. We all have those presuppositions. The theists have those presuppositions. I would argue they add on an extra presupposition, but Darth will never, and the other presupps will never defend their extra presupposition. What they will do is they'll go over a philosophy 101 class and go, get it? We can't know anything at all. We're brains and vats. Isn't that amazing? Therefore God. And they were like, what? I'm sorry, what was that last part? And you're like, oh God.
Okay, I'm the only Christian here.
Sure.
What do you
I
guys
don't know.
think about the fact that, okay, so you said we have logic and we have I think, therefore I am. What about the fact that the vast majority, the overwhelming majority, I would say like virtually all outside of like sociopaths, in terms of atheists, also, as far as I can tell, might ruffle some feathers, on faith, take the position that other human beings are having a waking, subjective, conscious experience, even though they can only be. I think, therefore, I am literally just means I think, therefore, I am. It does not mean that I can look at another.
You can never know with absolute certainty.
Well, wait. I can't look at my parents or my siblings or my children or anything. I will never have. I should be just as skeptical that I'm looking at a sort of simulated person that has no subjective experience as I should be of anything else. Yet every atheist I know does not operate or behave as if they're genuinely skeptical of this, and it means that they've taken this on faith. It's axiomatic to them. To me, that's a sort of unsubstantiated, like sort of axiom that is sort of based in what I consider like supernatural faith. To be honest.
We're talking about an absolute confidence, like absolute 100% certainty, as opposed to very strong certainty that other people are having a conscious
maximal certainty. That's what I was thinking.
Maximal certainty, right? Yeah. So if we presuppose our senses are true and not just the matrix giving us electrical signals and things like that, then being aware of somebody else, sight, feel, whatever other senses you use to evaluate that person, we can say, hey, that is another person that falls into the same category as me. I am having a subjective conscious experience. They are having a subjective conscious experience.
Wait a second. How do you just bridge that gap? How do you know anyone else is having the experience?
Well, you don't know for certain because all the coins of the realm. All the coins of the realm cannot be counterfeit, so it actually doesn't even matter. If I'm a brain in a vat and none of them are real, it would actually be identical to all of them being real if there's no way to distinguish. And whereas I have actually said, how could I distinguish, and was unable to find any way, that resolves to a philosophical.
Well, no, wait a second.
All the coins of
but this dichotomy implies that it might be like some or none. I'm saying why would you even think any of them are? Like you're creating
well, that would be none.
I don't need to.
But he's saying, how would I distinguish? Well, distinguishing implies that some are and some aren't. How are you even coming up with the idea that even one of them is in the first place?
No, I mean, how would I distinguish if I was under what is called the evil genius argument, which is my brain was in a vat and everything was, it's the matrix argument is the modern, but it was first praised as the evil genius argument. A genius whose intelligence is equal to God puts me in a vat and everything is fake. I cannot tell the difference between that and a complete real world. That resolves to a philosophical principle called all the coins of the realm cannot be counterfeit. If absolutely everything is fake, it's identical as absolutely everything is the truth.
Okay, but
so
let me
it doesn't
just
matter.
Have no contrast? Is that what you're saying?
I don't have. But wait, my argument here has nothing to do with the actual external world outside of whether or not there are minds experiencing their own isolated subjective experience. That's the only thing I'm concerned with here. So the idea of the brain in the vat could be true both ways, right? You could be a brain in the vat and there could be other people experiencing subjective things, or you could be not a brain in the vat. So I'm only concerned here with whether or not you alter your behavior, you make personal sacrifices because you take for granted that there are other subjective minds experiencing the world subjectively. You'll never have any evidence of that ever. But
we do have evidence. They tell us
evidence to the counter, or evidence to the counter.
Right, exactly.
No evidence.
You could know it's untestable. It's completely untestable, so it's irrelevant.
And I think there's good evidence, highly motivated for other minds. This,
other
you
subjective
might not know for 100% certainty, but I mean, this is starting to go into my ground with consciousness. I think that there is a heavily motivated reasons to why there'd be other minds.
It's not falsifiable.
Yeah, it's unfalsifiable.
If I showed you someone that you consider
Jason just hit the nail on the head. What you say?
It's not falsifiable. It's
listen.
Game over. Game over.
Well, let me ask a question because I think we're going in circles. So, Sunflower, if I understand correctly, let's assume for a second it's unfalsifiable. Let's assume for a second you couldn't tell the difference between one or the other. The question would then be, why act ethically at all? Because there's at least an equal possibility that none of these minds here exist and I can do anything I want to with them, as to there is a possibility that they're all just, is that roughly where you're going with this?
Well, no, because here's what I'm saying with this. I think what Amy said is fundamental, because she said we have logic and we have, I think, therefore I am, as the most sort of, on a personal level, these are axioms that I don't think many people can get away from no matter how hard they try. Now, if you want to introduce something new, I don't see why is it different to, if someone is convinced that a God exists, that is as supernatural as being convinced that other people are having subjective experiences. There's no evidence for it.
No.
There's no evidence for it. I really believe this. I mean, you guys can pick me apart on this.
Have you ever seen an MRI?
No. Listen. So
no, listen. Have you ever seen an MRI?
Yes, Mark. Listen.
Yeah. So if I've got a subjective conscious experience and my brain shows various brain waves on an MRI, and somebody else's brain is showing the same things, and they tell me they're having a conscious experience, why would that not be strong evidence to the fact that they actually are?
Because you can only experience your own experience.
Well, and let's tease that out for a second.
Let's look at that.
Really is that simple.
I think
so if you don't directly experience something, then it's not real.
No. Wait, hold on. It's obviously possible to create a convincing thing that talks like a duck, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, that you could trick a very smart person into thinking it was a whatever. Like, I mean, look at the speed at which technology is advancing even now. You don't think that someone could literally show you let's say 100 year future? Yeah. So,
but the fact that someone could trick you isn't good evidence that someone is.
Mark, you looking at an MRI will never.
Sunflower.
Okay, it will never give you evidence that they're having a subjective experience, because you only have your own subjective experience.
It's evidence. It's not absolute proof, but we don't deal with absolute proof.
Who cares this? Because I think I can reframe it in a way if I understand what I think he's arguing now. I've made this argument before, and I get a lot of atheists pissed at me. It is absolutely true, which is all atheists must have some faith-based beliefs. You absolutely have to. They're they're the response to human's problem of induction, and they're what are called properly basic beliefs. Now, I think what his question is if you must necessarily have faith-based beliefs to function, why are some faith-based beliefs that atheists might have preferable to, say, a faith-based belief in God? Why is it unfair to, or say, why can one, on what grounds could one say that what are called the properly basic beliefs, which are the beliefs that all human beings must hold, they are faith-based, they are not rationally defensible, but all human beings must hold these faith-based beliefs to function? Why is it that that's okay, but we say it's not okay for someone to hold a belief in God? Is that roughly the argument?
Because it's unfalsifiable.
Well, so wait, let me respond. Yes, Nick, that is absolutely perfectly the foundation of my argument. I would go a little bit further, but for what
I don't think God is a basic belief. I don't think that is
Are
required.
all faith-based beliefs equal? Are all
Can I give
faith-based
Nick
beliefs
credit
equal?
where it's due? Okay, yes, Nick, that is, I think a little bit further, but for what I've said tonight, that is an absolutely perfect depiction of what I was trying to say. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Oh, that's I want to understand it, because I think that's why the MRI I think might be. I think that's a very good point, but for another argument. I think where everyone else is going and where I would go with this is the reason we hold properly basic beliefs is because it is impossible to function without them. So we kind of have to hold them. One of them is hold on, just by properly basic beliefs. So for example, one of them is induction. Now Mark was looking a little like, really we can question absolutely everything. Is that true? And so if Mark said to me, Nick, I think he had a question that he thought would solve the problem about, do I believe that I at least exist? The second he answers that question, I don't know that if he actually, the second he asked that question, I don't know if he asked it, because I could have just popped into existence a quarter of a second after he asked the question. Ergo, no, I didn't exist when he asked it, and even though I exist now, and so even after I've answered it, I have that same problem.
But you still have the thoughts that prompt the
you had
conclusion.
I have memory of it.
You have memory. You have memory of prior experience. So to say you just popped into reality,
you can implant
with the memory
in someone's brain.
Right. Okay. So
I have no way of knowing. I have no way of knowing that those memories are real.
Correct.
Right. So
Yeah.
you're saying the thoughts that happened could have been a false memory inserted into your head to make you think you had thoughts when you
An
didn't have
existence
thoughts.
just started now, and the only reason I'm getting into this is because
So
we were
I'm going
talking
down
about
an endless path of, but then you're having thoughts of
Yeah,
that.
that's why nothing can be proven. That's why if I apply global that's how flat earthers work. Flat earthers couldn't operate without this because
No,
this is how
that's
we
not
take
how flat earthers work.
science. This is it's how we take science.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying they use that argument. I'm saying this is their method.
okay.
They apply what's called global skepticism, so that you cannot prove anything. There is a fault in reason, that all reason, when you get to, there's every discipline. Geometry requires an assumption of a point, requires an assumption of a line. Those are just defined. They're brute facts. You cannot.
Nick, that's where I was going to jump in. If we're going to have conversations with people where there's nothing, no matter how we chop it up, no matter how we try to dice it up, that we can never get to a point where we can agree, because everything is always mystical and so far out there that we can't get to an agreement to have common ground, have a conversation. Then it's done. It's already done. Why even engage in that?
We found common ground already. What are you talking about?
Well, not if you think that we can't tell if other people are having a conscious experience. We haven't found common ground because, hang on, Sunflower, hold on a second, Sunflower. Why would we talk to you if I didn't think you were a conscious mind? If I wasn't at least strongly certain.
I think that fundamental belief that you've always had, you never sat down and thought, well, I'm only going to talk to people if I can determine, like, you had this before you even realized it. I think that's special.
How do you know that?
How do you know that?
How do you know that? How do you know that?
I said, I think.
Okay. So you have no idea.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think
I don't think it's that special. So I think what happens is this: there are a number of beliefs, for example, that the future will resemble the past. That is an assumption. There is no way to know that without being circular. The only evidence that I have that the future will resemble the past is the fact that it always has in the past. But I just made a circular argument. How do I know that the future will be like the past? Well, because it always was. That's circular and is not a defense for believing that tomorrow the sun will rise. But if I choose not to believe that, I can't function. Nobody here can function without the assumption that when I put my foot down, there will be a plank below it, and that will support my weight. So these are, well, let me just finish. I'm almost done. So these are properly basic beliefs. These are, you wouldn't feed yourself if you didn't say that my memories are accurate, and that as people have starved to death in the past, I will starve to death in the future if I don't eat. So all of us must necessarily, even though we cannot rationally, and people have been trying to rationally defend this assumption for a very long time and failed. Nobody has succeeded in doing it. It's called Hume's problem of induction. Now, what we do is we just say, we're going to assume it's not a problem because we kind of have to operate otherwise. Now, we've learned a couple of things. One is the more times that you add assumptions, the more likely you are to be incorrect. So we always hear Matt Dillahunty when he talks about these things. He says, I try to get to as few assumptions and as few falsities as possible. He doesn't say none because he knows that can't be done. But I have to believe in induction to operate. I couldn't be having this conversation without believing in induction. Can I rationally prove it? Nope, but I must believe it. But I try to have the fewest possible beliefs like this that cannot be supported. Now, if somebody's going to tell me there is a God, I would either A, need some form of supporting evidence, or B, need to understand why I must accept it as a properly basic belief in order to operate and go forward. Nobody has ever accomplished either of those two to my satisfaction, and that's the difference. I don't have to have that belief to operate.
And mine, and everybody on the
So,
panel.
Sunflower, if you're about to make a comment,
I think got someone else to come in.
We got a bunch now.
Okay.
I'll be really quick.
Everything Nick just said, like all that's cool. But I agree with Mark. If we can get to the place that we can agree, we can look at a brain scan and understand that our brains work in very similar ways. What are we talking about right now?
That's strong evidence.
Like, what
okay, hold on. What do you guys not agree that consciousness is an emergent property of a complex brain?
Sure.
It's an emergent property, right? It's not, we don't know the exact mechanism of which neurons link together to cause a conscious.
How does that get to a God, though?
Wait, Bert.
Well, Bert,
sit back down in your peanut gallery. Okay,
Come on, Sunflower.
Come on, yeah, just not start that again. Let's not start that again.
Don't start that shit.
I mean, to interrupt that conversation with just a blurted in, how does that mean God? Is like it's profane.
Okay, I didn't say that like that. I
Okay,
just asked you.
Anyway,
how does any of that have to do with the God?
Property. We have things like dolphins, right? Like you can have extremely complex neural networks that we don't just
My dolphins.
That we don't assume are having conscious subjective experiences the way that humans are. It's not merely a matter of the more intelligent eventually consciousness. It's not like that. So
How do you know that dolphins are not having a conscious experience?
I don't know, but we obviously assume they aren't. I mean,
so
they are.
Why would you just assume that? If we don't know, we don't know. Why
don't
just
we apply
assume
human
that?
rights to dolphins, Mark?
Why do we give rights to dolphins?
Why don't we give dolphins human rights if they're having a waking conscious experience in the way that we are?
Is it illegal to kill a dolphin?
That's not the entirety of human rights. Can dolphins vote?
Mark.
Okay.
Maybe they vote better than some of the people, so
Anyway,
maybe we should.
I would like to respond to Ted, though,
Mark, here's my point: is that this is what happens when we get into these shenanigans, where we go from we can't even agree that we can do a brain scan and see that the human brain has at least common activity. To now we're talking about fucking dolphins
that can vote.
So Amy, I know you had another guest to come on. Let's rock and roll.
Evidence for God. Voting dolphins.
We have we are skeptic and ranting among us, and so soldier
Next
of
up, do
science.
dolphins
I know
pray?
you've been waiting. How are you, and what are your thoughts on the subject?
Soldier.
Anything we would talk about tonight?
I mean, I guess, do you want to hear my thoughts on the original subject or the one you were
Both.
last talking about?
Whatever you think is more interesting.
Okay, I'll start with the last one. I mean,
I should put a warning on that.
No, I heard everything you said. I still don't even get to if you get down to the fundamental of, hey, consciousness is an emergent property, and therefore humans must be special, that then you apply another logical being must have created that. For me, that.
Has the conversation even gone near there tonight?
Hey, let him do his intro, then you can ask questions.
Kind of sounded like that. I mean, you said you have to be something special, right? Wasn't that what you said?
That was the second thing you said. Then you said, just because you're special, why does that mean there's a God? That's what I never said, ever. Never even tiptoed near that.
Did you imply that, though?
I didn't touch that with a 50-yard pull, dude.
Okay.
If you're gonna
Fair enough. Don't get mad. So on the original subject, I think James kind of hit it on the head. The original subject of Seth McDowell speaking to a bunch of kids. And I want to say first to Oz, I grew up in a Christian school church, and they weren't training me to be a pastor. And I don't think probably the majority of Christian and Catholic schools in California were that way. And so I don't know this particular high school that Seth McDowell was speaking to. Maybe they were of that sort. And what I'm leading to is when I grew up in a Christian school, they weren't keen to teach me apologetics at all. In fact, it was the exact opposite. It was like, hey, don't talk to people who are atheists or non-believers because they're probably demonics or the devil.
Were you going to evangelical school?
Kind of not evangelical, but like apostolic. Pretty much a cult. Might as well have been a cult, but yeah. So it could have been different. But I guess what I'm getting to is this whole thing is very interesting to me because really you could have labeled that video 100 questions to become an atheist and 1 reason to still believe in God. And so for me, James kind of hit it on the head is you know what, we're living in a world of the internet now. We're living in a world where these guys are now going into college and they're going to be seeing all kinds of videos like your videos.
Yeah.
They're going to be seeing all of these, and now they're exposed to all of these different questions. And so I'm going to give you the one best defense. He didn't give them all kinds of defenses for the 100 actual questions. And so to me, it's like a tactic. It's like, hey, I'm speaking to 100 kids and maybe I give 10 of them reasons to become an atheist because they've now heard more questions and are gonna doubt, but maybe I save 90 of them by making them doubt. So that, I think those are
it's a numbers game.
It's a numbers game. And it's based on knowing that Christianity is severely declining, and it's going to severely decline more as the internet and people get on the internet. So that's my opinion.
And thank you so much, Soldier of Science. And okay, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so we are gonna
bring one more, and then you can rotate me out.
Yes, I think what we're gonna do is Atheist Junior was next, but then we actually have two theists backstage. We have both Will and Eddie.
Well, I was about to say.
Now we have a cat.
Amy, if you want to bring one more on, I just got one more thing I want to bring up, and I can dip out because I got some work I need to get done.
Woohoo! And that's okay. That sounds good. And
thank
we're
you
only
so
gonna
much
go
for coming
a little
on,
bit
Oz.
longer anyway. We actually just hit hour 3. Yes, Oz.
It's like we
thank
just
you
started.
so much for hanging out so long as you did. It's been awesome. And okay, Atheist Junior, I know you have a lot that you probably want to say. We have been skeptic and ranting among us. Dun dun dun. How are you? And what are your thoughts about anything we've been talking about?
I'm good, Amy. Can y'all hear me?
Hey, Atheist Junior, how you doing tonight?
No, I didn't hear a thing.
Welcome to the party.
Good. So I saw some of the video, but I was actually in the Reformation server earlier talking to Darth Dawkins.
You got your Darth cherry busted, you son of a bitch, you.
I'd rather hear about that.
And the first time I talked to him twice, because the first time I actually made it about almost an hour before he booted me, and then I came back later, and Darth was actually watching the stream.
Our stream?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We got eyes.
But-
That's where for like a minute or two, we had a bunch of Darth's guys go and chat and be like, "Where's the link? Where's the link?" And we're like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, be on your best behavior, ladies and
He's got
gentlemen.
Amy Newman on his mind. He can't get you out of his head.
He can't F-U-C-Q.
I was going to say, Amy, as much as he now hates you and hates me, I'm sure we're on the menu.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
and-
Oh, Oz, I love you and Randolph. I call you guys now the dynamic duo for him.
Yeah, and I got super frustrated because I was trying to record the conversation, so I could have a video of it, and I just couldn't get it to work. Like the first time, and then the second time, it's like it recorded my audio but not his, so that was pretty annoying. And at the he booted me the first time, and also like in the second conversation,
Darth
yeah,
did?
he at the end he said he was asking me about like what causality was, and he told me if you answered reality, I'm going to boot you. And
The
answered-
T-jump
I said-
thing.
Yeah, I said cause and effect, and he booted me anyway.
T-Jump did that to him like 20 times. He got so pissed.
Yeah, and I think earlier people were saying that it could be a good idea for people to pretend to be atheists or pretend to be theists for that
Not true.
purpose.
He'll catch you.
Well, just talking about the video where the person was a Christian pretending to be an atheist, and yeah, I would say I wouldn't say to do that to Darth. I was just talking about generally, but yeah, I would say it's probably not always a good idea because you have like Godless Girl and her boyfriend pretending to be theists, calling into the atheist experience, and Matt Dillahunty hanging up on them. So
Yeah, just be who you are.
She's
That's
an honorary
exactly what I was
theist.
when I
She's
went
more
to
of one of on their side than our side.
Yeah, she's not an atheist. And I guess since today is
Honorary
May-
theist. That's all.
today is May. Is
May
today
the
May
4th.
the 4th, or I guess It's
May the
technically
Not
May the
anymore,
fourth be
but
with you.
it is on some parts of the U.S.
well.
You
Yes,
can
well,
baptize her in effigy, Bird.
I'll do my impression of Darth Tangelo and
Oh no!
Oh wow.
Luke, join me and we can rule the universe as father and son.
Bravo, bravo.
Darth
And-
Tangelo coming to a church near you.
Very much, Atheist Junior.
Oh, I wanted to say just about the solipsism thing that Sunflower is saying. My response to that is that if I not like if I can't know if solipsism is true or not, and I can't know if every other person isn't real and I'm the only real person in the universe, that would mean that I taught myself information that I didn't know, and I wrote and performed every great and terrible song, and also saw myself perform in concert, and I'm every person in this stream at once, and I'm also backstage at the same time.
You are talented.
So
yeah,
Well, that means he's carrying on my baggage, so
Go on.
apologies for that.
Go on.
just applying Occam's razor to that,
and
I
you-
think it's less likely that
If I could jump in,
Razor
that's
doesn't
true.
apply to that.
That's the issue. Is the
That's
person
what I was jump in. I think he's getting ready to head off.
I'm going to go. So, and you guys can jump into to all that. So, Sunflower, my little flower. There's comments made during the stream, and I just want to get a little bit of clarity from you. You do understand that when it comes to the character of Jesus Christ or the Christus or whoever this guy was supposed to be, that we really don't have a lot of evidence to support the claim of him walking the earth, right?
I mean, I think we do, but even for the sake of wherever you're going with this, let's just say we don't. Go on.
No reason to.
That's all I needed because
Yeah.
if he's the savior of humanity and the world, we're good. So
Well, and there's over 2 billion Christians nonetheless. So
and that is the argument
That's the popular argument.
That is the argument of popular.
Wait, the argument. Hold on. The argument ad populum was the original point was who's the most influential figure. That's literally substantiated by popular opinion.
Because you brought it up first.
No,
there's more Muslims.
You.
But Christianity at all times was not the most popular.
Say, like someone like the Beatles.
You said Sunflower. You said in the chat that he was the singular most influential person that's ever walked the planet.
True. Fact.
Okay. According to what?
The amount of people that identify as Christian.
What about Confucius?
The 2 billion, the 2 plus
or
billion
Plato.
Hold on. Everybody.
More than Darth Dawkins, even.
Or my dad.
It's the most popular. It's the most common religion in the world. That's the reason.
So that doesn't make it influential.
Yeah.
Well, so would you accept Sunflower to start? Would you accept that at least reframing the argument as he is the most influential, whether real or not?
I said figure. That was my exact words.
Okay, so you're not
real.
necessarily asserting. You're not necessarily asserting that he's real. Just that figure is the most influential figure in human history.
That's true.
All right.
And obviously, I think he's real, but you don't even. He doesn't even have to be real for what I
Real
said.
like Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, for your argument, you don't need to. Yeah, for your argument,
Yes,
it's
for my
irrelevant.
argument, it doesn't even have to have been a real person. What other figure had this much influence?
You said walked the earth, walked.
Donald Trump just influenced the entire world for 4 years. Right? That's pretty influential.
Can I just do this so I can bounce? That's all I want to do, and then y'all can keep going. So, Sunflower, if you want to do the semantics thing, you knew exactly what I was saying when I said what I said, and then you gave the pushback.
Do you remember what you said?
Well, I mean, I got the chat right here. Do you want me to pull everything up?
I'll tell you what you said. You said that if God really wanted to make this, Jesus guy like such a big deal, he would. Wouldn't we at least have some like documents from not 20 years? That's literally what I responded to.
You're not even
That's
close.
what I responded to. I don't know what you think I responded.
You're not even close to representing what I said.
Wait, that's what I responded to.
And this is how you and I, Sunflower, my little flower, got in the last disagreement because you don't remember what you say and don't say. What I said was, if this was to be the savior of humanity, the man that was sent to save the world, wouldn't there be at least a sentence or two attributed to his walking the earth
with no debate?
Years,
that's what he's saying.
Within 20 years.
I just
and
said.
guess what, Sunflower? Guess what, Sunflower?
That's what I just said. Are you high?
Guess what?
That's what I just said.
That's not what you said. That's not. Nice try. You're not doing that to me. But what I laid out to you is that, and I'm being extremely generous according to history, biblical historians. When I say 20 years, there's nothing written about Jesus for 20 years, or at least 20 years after his death, and that's generous.
That's what I just said.
No, that's not what you said.
What did I say? Did I not say that Oz's point was that if this was the savior of humanity, there'd be documents of him before 20 years?
No, I'm talking about what you said earlier.
Well, that was the first thing I responded to. You crackhead. Like, what are you talking about, dude?
So did you maybe misspeak?
Hold on.
You maybe misspeak when you said walk the earth.
Please, everybody chill right now. So what'd you call me, Sunflower?
I called you a crackhead. If you can't take that one on the chin, then you don't belong on the internet.
Okay. Well, no, I'm not upset with you at all. I'm calling you out, and
you calling me out. They're calling me a crackhead.
Well,
yeah, real Christian like it.
At least he's not calling people autistic.
Everybody chill. So instead of having the real conversation, now you want to make insults and mock and do those things. So again, I'll ask you: is there any good evidence that we have that the savior of humanity, the savior of the world, walked this planet? Do we have
that? 2 billion plus Christians worldwide.
Oh my God, that's augmentum ad populum.
That's
everybody. Hold on, chill. And I'll bounce. I'll get out of it. That is literally a plea to populum. That's what you're doing, and I know you don't want to do that.
I wasn't arguing for the historicity of Jesus by saying that there's Christians. I was arguing that that's why he's the most influential figure. So you're confused.
But that's not what Oz just asked. He clarified exactly what he was asking.
That's strawmanning me. That's not what I ever said. So I don't know why I would.
No. He asked a direct question.
Yes.
Is there any evidence?
Why would he ask that question? It's nothing I've ever said.
Answer the question.
Is there any evidence that Jesus was the savior of humanity? And you said yes. There is millions of Christians.
Which is a weird thing to ask when my point was he's the most influential figure in human history. That was my point.
But can you prove he even existed?
I said he was
Oz may have another point.
Figure.
So I think it's a fair question Oz was asking. Oz may have another point. I'm curious as to the answer. So assuming that it's a separate inquiry, which I think it is, because I agree with the first thing. So I would like to hear. Oz had a good question. I thought.
Of course, it's a separate inquiry. It's not even related to my point. But go on.
I think I would agree with you with that, but I do think Oz asked a fair question. Nonetheless, I'd be curious as to the answer, but that's entirely up to the two of you.
Oh yeah, I'm not making an argument here for the historicity of Jesus based on the fact that that there's a lot of Christians. That was not my point. It never was my point. Oz is a crackhead. He likes to derail. He talks in these slow, like sort of stuff.
It's not funny. It's not fucking funny to say stupid shit like that, dude.
It is funny. I'm laughing inside, Bird. So
I'm sure you are because you're a piece of shit. That's why.
Come on, Bird.
Ceasefire.
He's a little kid.
I think we should chill out.
Give him some slack. He's a little kid.
Yeah, when people project, I'm all the way cool. Like I'm all the way cool. I get the rhythm. Like I'm good. So Sunflower, it's not now we're just arguing a different position of and let's make sure you're on the same page here. So you're saying that you just believe that Jesus was the most influential character to ever walk the planet. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I use the word figure, but sure, you can use the word character if you want. Yeah, that's what I said in chat. Yeah, that's.
And that's not your belief necessarily. That is, just to clarify, that is not your belief necessarily. That is the claim you made.
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, when I made my statements that were very, very clear, that I just repeated again here a few minutes ago, on how I view the accounts and the story of Jesus in the Bible. If you responded to it that way. Which, if we go back in the chat, that wasn't your first reaction to that.
It was.
What was that?
It was my first reaction. Go back. I mean, I know you don't like to go back. Like last time you said you were going to go get evidence. You didn't do it. I don't think you're going to do it this time either. But if you want to, go ahead.
And Eddie, I feel bad. It's been a good problem to have. We've been surprisingly packed. But if you come back either tonight, I'll give you a shot, or if not, you'll have all the time next time. I heart Eddie, and go check out.
I'm sorry we didn't get him in.
Podcast.
So how in the world can you determine that this fictional guy is the most influential person that's not existed?
I think it's a pretty reasonable standard if you're using the word influence. If there's 2 billion people that proclaim.
Okay, so you're proving that point. It's an argument to populum. Okay.
Well, I don't. How else would you prove how influential someone is on humanity besides polling humanity and
wait a second,
who had the most influence? It's like what else? What other metric would you use for influence?
But what's interesting is that you're going around this topic of the most influential figure. So the assumption is not sure if he was actually real or not, but that this figure, which is described in the Bible, written by these other folks for, multiple centuries later, that biblical writings have resulted in 2 billion people following that. So you could say that Christianity is the most influential religion, but to say Jesus is the most influential figure assumes that that this was based on this person, and that's
Are you aware that there's at least arguments that William Shakespeare is a pen name and it might not have been a single guy? Now wait, let me finish.
Go ahead.
Is it wrong to say that William Shakespeare is the most influential playwright of of the period he existed in? Of course not. That's just true. So
can I comment?
What you guys are doing is silly and stupid.
Can I comment?
Jason, real quick. I'll do this, and I promise I'm gonna leave because it's. I know I'm not gonna get anywhere with Sunflower.
Yeah,
my little flower.
But it's fun.
What you're trying to compare this to. You're trying to compare Shakespeare to the existence of a God in flesh that walked, and it was a virgin birth, and he died.
Only in terms of their influence. Only in terms of their influence. Only in terms of their influence. Yes, go on.
But you're not getting it, Sunflower. You're literally not even listening to yourself.
Okay, go on. You're stuttering. Go on. Tell me.
No, I'm not stuttering. You're just not listening. So if we have this dude that shows up and did all this to save humanity, and you say you're a Christian, I don't know if that's true or not, but to save humanity, we have no good documentation, no record. But he supposedly died, or I'm sorry, he was born of a virgin birth. That's never happened. He died and then resurrected after 3 days of being dead. That's never happened. And we have zero way to record or log that or know that it ever happened other than something that's maybe 20 or 30 years after his death. If you want to believe that, then
I'm not sure if you're tracking the conversation. We've established that I'm not arguing the historicity of Jesus as a person, the figure of Christ. That's why I use Shakespeare as the analogy, because whether or not there was a guy named Shakespeare, his works and his legacy live on with profound influence in humanity. You are now bumbling and ranting because you think that the panel is going to side with you. And they probably are, but listen, atheist, call out your own.
He is correct.
Stupid fucking point.
He is correct.
You know stupid fucking point. Please.
Let Oz finish so he can go. Go ahead, Oz.
So we can move on.
Yep, I'm about to dip. So
that's a good idea.
Sunflower, I love you, and I know you hate me, and I know you think I'm a crackhead and a meth head and all of those things, but I love you anyway. And I pray to the atheist God that you find truth and you stop projecting. But for the rest of you guys, love you. And
Right, Oz.
Thanks so much for coming on,
And
Oz.
thank you
We
so
love you.
much for coming on, Oz.
And for the record, Oz is too fat to be a meth head. Thank you very much.
So
wow.
No, that was his joke. That was his joke, not mine. He said
Aggressively
that.
supportive.
Bird is like, no, that was him.
So let me just let me chime in really quick. So Sunflower, I mean, I appreciate that maybe you said something in chat based on a misunderstanding of what he was trying to come across as historicity. But what I want to know is why even argue that? Like, what's the point of arguing influence? I mean,
It seems subjective, yeah.
I mean, to me, if you're a Christian, aren't you really truly arguing for the historicity, not the influence? Because you could argue the influence of any religion.
Sure,
Charles Manson.
That's a very good question. It was because of the context in which, and look, I mean, maybe Oz is going to say, I didn't say that. Go back and listen to what the sound bite I was responding to was basically Oz saying something along the lines of like, you know, if this is the savior of humanity, if this is the Messiah, if this is God, you know, don't you think that we would have been given some like whatever, I guess he said like documents of
Good night,
and so the reason I said what I said is that he says that as if it's not been the most successful life of a person to ever influence everything else moving forward. It's like maybe
purported.
Look,
Yeah, and we disagree that it is the most influential.
Purported. You yourself have stated it's purported. Just how potentially Shakespeare. Well,
hold on. Let's
look, Shakespeare. You ran your mouth about Shakespeare, and then you're going to overtalk again. Go for it.
No, can I please finish?
Well, you mean for the second or third or fourth time? Yeah, go ahead and finish.
No, I didn't finish. Okay.
Well,
look,
finish for the fourth or fifth time here now.
Okay, Jason, I will. Okay, so if I was part of a religion that was like, you know what, like. Jesus wasn't the savior. It was actually, you know, like John the Baptist. Like there would be a lot more. I would give a lot more sympathy to the type of argument Oz presented, where it's like you could say, like, well, really, like God just missed the mark, and like the guy right next to him was supposed to be the savior, but God couldn't convince all the people in the area.
It was Brian.
It's going over your head.
Well, no, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Is like, it's as if Oz was framing it as if like everybody like didn't realize that Jesus was the Messiah. It's like, well, really, the whole world converted, like more or less. Like to say that, like, wow, God couldn't do any better. No, listen.
The whole world still hasn't converted, Sunflower. That's obviously untrue.
I was using
incredibly hyperbolic language. Yeah,
and Rome controlled half the world as well.
Yeah, the Roman Empire. That was kind of the thing.
Catholicism gave that religion to.
Soldier, you know what? What are you talking? They were Jewish. They killed him because they didn't think he was the Messiah. What are you saying? The paradigm was not one of Christianity before Christ.
Well, and at a minimum, let me state one thing for the record, which is I think the argument that Jesus Christ is one of the most the argument that he is one of the most influential figures in human history is irrefutably true. And then
Genghis Khan.
Let him talk.
And then the argument that he is the single most is not irrefutably so, but it is defensible, and there are many people who make that defense. The list that I know of actually has him third under, believe it or not, Muhammad and Isaac Newton. But nonetheless, it's obvious that we're within striking distance of the claim that he's making.
Wow, that is just music to my ears to hear a reasonable voice in this.
Now prove it.
I never said he wasn't one of the most influential. I never said that.
Nick is the only voice of reason here because
no, he's not. Quit saying stupid stuff like
guys. I'm
no, Sunflower.
You run your mouth a lot, Sunflower.
I never said he was not one of the most influential.
We're going to pretend
that the most
Sunflower in an actual debate where somebody was going back and forth with you, you would get annihilated. I'm just going to tell you. If you and me had, talking to you, Sunflower. If you and me had a debate,
Amy,
and we did this for 45 minutes,
if you can,
you would look dumb. You would look dumb. I'd be happy to. You know what? We can debate. I have a strategy. Let's debate. Not right now. We can set it up on was Jesus a real figure and his influence in the world?
We should do that.
You want to do both or one or the other? I'll do.
I think it would be best. I think it would be best to pick one over the other. But
I would say
do historicity first.
I would say let's talk about if he's the most influential figure in human history. I'll go contact James on Modern Debate. I'll gladly do that.
I would love to do it. I'll send James an email.
Okay, great.
And I am looking forward to that debate.
That would be a good debate.
And okay,
Yeah,
we are going to bring Will in here so that he can have his intro, outro.
Hey, Will.
We have been Skeptic
You bring
and
the sunflower
Ranting
seeds.
on Among Us. How are you? And what are your thoughts about anything we've been talking about tonight?
Well, I just want to let everybody know that the point of Christianity
Here we go.
is not the historical account of Jesus Christ.
Thanks a lot. Good intro.
Oh, that's it.
Is that not a hysterectomy? Did he say not a hysterectomy?
Not a hysterectomy, that's correct.
Okay. Just want to make sure I heard that right. I figured I was either not doing enough drugs or too many, but I think we have our answer.
You're doing just the right amount there.
Yeah, just the right amount. Perfect.
Historicity. No, it's about faith, right? So the whole point of, the Bible's pretty clear that the whole point of the religion or the faith.
I want to hear y'all discuss this. I want to hear you and Sunflower.
So why would they leave a record?
Myself.
What's the point? No point arguing that, Sunflower.
I think I agree with Will on some level on this. Yeah, exactly. This is profound, and he put it in a few words. The concept of faith is central to Christianity. So the requirement, and I understand why a skeptic would require this, but if you really understand faith, it would be absurd to have to ask for enough evidence that would be so much that you could not even think otherwise, because you would no longer need faith.
Why is he was just for not any evidence, just any at all.
Don't need evidence. He said writings. Because you are saved by faith through grace. Faith is not of your own doing, but a gift from God.
Well,
so
John, how do you tell that your faith is in the right thing? How do you tell that?
How do you tell that your faith is in the right thing?
Sure. I mean, there's plenty of other people with faith in the world, and they obviously don't believe in the right thing, right?
Well, I mean, their faith is their faith.
Yeah, because
you tell that yours is right and theirs is wrong.
Why do I need to know that mine's right? I just have faith in what I have faith in.
Yeah,
exactly.
But then you could be one of the people that have faith in the wrong thing, and so why should I believe that your faith is in the right?
You don't
thing
have
and not
to.
the wrong thing.
You can't.
Yeah,
actually.
You just keep your fingers crossed that you're right.
Right.
Yeah, you got a problem, which is Will isn't trying to convert you.
Right. That's the thing. That's what I love about Will.
I'm trying to convert.
Oh, please try. No, it's fine. It's just. I suppose I'm just pointing out my position when you say you have faith. I'm like, well,
yeah, but I mean, so if God's plan, right? So if this God exists, and His plan is to save people through faith, why does He need to leave an evidence trail to empirically prove?
Well, He doesn't have to, but it'd certainly help His credibility.
But if the point is faith, why leave an evidence trail?
Well said.
Because a God that doesn't leave any kind of evidence you can't tell the difference between a God that doesn't leave any evidence and a God that doesn't exist. Then there's no way to tell the difference.
Unless He opens your eyes to that faith.
Right.
But that's evidence.
Sure, I have evidence for myself, for my own belief.
Sure, and that's evidence. I mean, I to my opinion, like from my perspective, it's incredibly poor evidence because, I can't experience what you've experienced.
Exactly.
But it's still evidence, and therefore you've undermined your own point that all you need is faith, because you're saying because He's opened your eyes, you've got evidence.
Right.
Well, then
faith
you've just
has been
undermined your
given
own
to
point
me.
about
It's
faith.
been given. The ability to have that faith has been given to me by God.
Yeah, and Mark, there's some overlap here of
I
terms.
can see the evidence
It's not-
of God if I use a black light on my sheets.
A personal experience that you can't demonstrate to anyone else. While I would say that it's sort of a weird special case of evidence. Like I wouldn't.
What's a weird special case?
It's not evidence at all, Sunflower.
Okay, great then. That's even more like what I'm saying here is that
great.
You have an experience, Bird, settle down. If you have an experience that convinces you of something and you can't replicate the experience to anyone else, Well, yeah, I guess that qualifies as evidence. It's like not the same way anything else would qualify as evidence in some
No,
way.
anecdote is not evidence. I'm sorry.
Well, it's not evidence to anybody else, but your experiences are evidence to you.
Yeah, I just think there's a little bit of weird semantic things
Exactly,
here.
100%. Paul example, the Damascus Road.
Will, can I respond to something you said about being given faith? This is like super sad to me, and I'll tell you why. Because it's honestly like saying you're a special person for being given the ability to shut down your logical brain for anything that you don't understand. That is how I hear it. It's like saying,
Soldier, you ever fallen in love?
Sunflower, he asked me the question, not you.
I know, but I want to know if he's ever fallen
Settle
in
down,
love.
Sunflower.
But he asked
Settle
me the
down.
question. You have to let me answer the question.
Okay,
You just
go-
asked me before
yeah.
you ask him if he's fallen in love before.
Go put on your white face paint and red cloud nose, Sunflower.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it's not about being special, right? So the scripture says it's nothing that you've done yourself. There is no merit that you've done that you've been given that faith. You've just been given it.
Sure. But did you hear how I define that in the aspect that you're feeling lucky? You have this great feeling that you're able to ignore things and take it on.
What do I have to ignore?
On word, or basically.
What am I ignoring?
Science.
For me,
how
it's
am I
like
ignoring
saying,
science? How is science antithetical to faith in God?
well, if you were using science, you wouldn't say faith, right?
Exactly.
Science is a natural world.
If you don't have
God's not natural.
Exactly.
If you have an explanation for it, you don't say it's faith. So the word faith itself is opposite of everything that you know about science. It's
opposite of evidence.
So here's a question. Can absolutely everything, and I mean everything, be answered scientifically?
No, obviously not.
I know your answers to that. And I mean everything. So
do you mean like possible now or possible at some point in the future?
I mean answered scientifically.
Time.
So I mean essentially what I mean is that there is an answer to everything ultimately given enough time that can be reached through science. Now I think
don't know.
Okay, I think that because I'm an atheist, I think that's a fair answer. When we talk about certain things, I think there are some things that are necessarily going to always be out of the realm of science. Now, this is not to say that they will necessarily end up being faith-based, but I think science is, like all things, a discipline, and science is the single most successful endeavor in human history, and it's only really been around. It's only been around realistically for about 400 years. And we've done more in that 400 years than the entire species did in the 100,000 before that. So you will have no problem.
The last 100 years.
Yep, absolutely. So you've got no problem convincing me of the importance of science. But the question is, does it apply? Can it be applied to absolutely every possible endeavor and realm that you can imagine? And my belief is
does that include supernatural? Does everything include the supernatural?
Yes, he's talking about everything that could possibly exist.
So
I would assume that I don't believe that there's any evidence for a supernatural. So if there was a supernatural, you would then, the question might break down.
I mean, it's just like aliens, right? Right now, there is no scientifically studyable evidence that life exists on other worlds. You have the probability.
There might be on Venus.
So,
if I'm understanding
right now,
correctly, saying
there might be a God as well.
The capacity to understand everything.
Did you want to give your outro, Atheist Junior? He was. Do you have anything to say before you have to get off?
Well, I'll just respond real quick. I didn't want to give a long outro, but yeah, my browser's crashing and I have to sign off anyway. So I would say there's far more evidence for life in the phosphine gas of Venus than there is for God. And the question of can science solve everything? I guess I would have to know the definition of how you're using the word everything before I could answer that question. But just to allow the discussion to go forward, I'll just end it there. But
thanks, AJ.
Thanks
for coming on, Atheist.
Thank you very much, AJ.
And I'm looking forward to your debate with Darth, man. I hope Tom Rabbit got it.
Yeah, for the
I hope so too. I want to see that.
So let me just say something to Nick really quick.
Is there anybody else in the back game?
And in fact, Soldier of Science, I think you are actually next. We're gonna sandwich in Will at the right before James because he just went. So
He
we'll give
just
him
got
some
in.
time to think. But Soldier of Science, we have been skeptic and ranting among us. I hope you had a good time. And what are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are, well, maybe there's a God above, but all I've ever learned from love was how to shoot somebody that tried to outdraw us. Thank you, guys.
Woohoo! Thank you
Good one.
so much, Soldier of Science. And okay, we are moving right along. Bird. I wish I could play guitar, by the way. Just as
Can I be a little bit of a tool?
Sure.
I can't scientifically prove that God exists, but I do have perfect pitch hearing, and your guitar's out of tune.
Oh, dear Lord.
I agree. It is.
I believe that claim, yeah.
No, that's a true claim. It's a true claim.
And okay, Bird. we're
SOS.
moving down along. SOS. That reminds me of The Forest. I just started playing that game. They're making SOS. Bird, we have been skeptic and ranting. Where's my little magnifying glass? Among Us. It's been a little SOS in here. I hope you had a good time. And what are your final thoughts?
I had a great time. And why do you always make me follow him? Thank you so much. Yet again. That's the third time in a row, Amy. I'm just messing with you.
Hey, it's
this
just
is
the numbers.
This is all interesting discussion. But to me, it boils down to Nick's question. Can everything be known? I don't know, but we only know the natural world. And until the supernatural world can be shown to be a thing, I would say science is the best way that we know what everything or how everything happens in the real world. That's it.
Thank you, Bird.
Woohoo! Thank you so very much, Bird.
Thanks,
And
Bird.
okay, we're moving along. Jason, we have been skeptic and ranting among us. I hope you had a good time. And what are your final thoughts?
Okay. My final thought is I wanted to say that I was probably too harsh with Sunflower. So I want to apologize. I don't want to be a dick. I don't want to be rude. I think you're absolutely entitled to your opinion on the influence of Jesus. If you want to email me, we can talk about a respectful debate, but I'm not, I just want to apologize that I was probably a little too animated on that topic. Anyways, I know the main topic was the video, and the only thing I would mention is to re-emphasize what Oz was saying, that I think that it's an excellent strategy for atheists to be able to attempt to steelman Christian positions, and for us to be able to better understand those positions, if to come up with strategies on how to combat that, but also to maybe better understand it. And so that's all I'll say on that. And I was happy to come on tonight.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you so very much, Jason.
That's true. We are always trying to explain what they believe, even though it's hard to make sense of it sometimes.
Exactly. And we just want to know everyone's position. Also, that's what she said.
Hello.
And okay.
Bird saw that one.
Woohoo! Moving along. Welcome, Sunflower. I hope you had a good time tonight. And what are your final thoughts?
Okay, final thoughts. Hey, Jason, of course, you're definitely one of the most reasonable guys that I've talked to. And yeah, no, I mean, apology accepted, but even still, I don't think you overstepped anything. So yeah, that's fine. My final thoughts are honestly this. I have not only a nasally voice, but I talk fast, and I often talk unintentionally with some, I guess, what's the word? I don't know, it sounds like I'm being very accusatory, and sometimes I am, but sometimes it's just how I talk. Whatever. I naturally infuriate people just by talking. And I don't mean just on these panels. I mean,
settle down, Sunflower. Settle down. No, I'm just messing.
I mean, I'm saying, like, not even just in these panels, but just in my daily life. This isn't like, this is just who I've come to try to accept it as part of my identity. I'm going to infuriate people, and they're going to think I'm an obnoxious twerp just by stating my opinion. I try to work on it, but it never really seems to work. Now, all I would ask is that, please, I understand when we're caught up and I'm making these nasally, annoying comments that it's very easy to sort of say, oh, Sunflower, the idiot. Think about my exchange with Oz tonight. And if you really want to say that anything I said was unreasonable, just fact check anything Oz said ever tonight, please. If you go back and look at it, everything he said is wrong and everything I said makes more sense.
Okay, let's not worry about Oz. He's not here. So just...
No, I'm going to worry about it. No, it's my outro, buddy. It's my outro, buddy. Now, I know that Oz has a particularly emphatic style. So, well, listen. Listen. Okay.
Yeah, that's enough.
Go back and listen to it and look at what's being said. This person is never talking about reality ever. So please stop.
Yeah, I think that's enough. Stop bashing Oz in your outro. I think that's enough. I've heard enough of it.
Mark, I don't care. It's not your channel, buddy. So
I think Oz isn't here to defend himself, and I think that's enough.
Call your own out on their bullshit, atheist.
Be a Christian, buddy. Be a Christian.
Call your own out on their bullshit, atheist. Thank you.
Did he leave?
Yep.
I think he left. Yeah, you're on the big screen, Amy.
I was gonna say I did not kick him. Well, I heart Oz and I heart Sunflower, so both of you take it. And
Oz can take it. Well, Oz takes it in stride. He's used to it.
And okay. Woo-hoo, oh my. And we are moving right along. Nick, we have been Skeptic Ranting Among Us. I hope you had a good time, and what are your final thoughts?
I had a blast. I'm probably going to be the only one who actually shills his stuff, so I'll do that in a sec. But no, I had a blast. I am reminded in high school I was known as being unreasonably reasonable, and that it can be helpful and it can annoy the living shit out of everybody on all sides. So I will say, what is it? The middle of the road gets hit on traffic from both sides. But anyways, I'm because again, and I've said this a dozen times. My BA was in philosophy. My father was a criminal defense attorney, so it's very easy for me to bifurcate somebody's beliefs and what they are saying at the present moment, or I always look for the difference between what they're saying and what they mean, which in English is actually much harder to do than most people
you did a kick-ass job. I know that.
I sincerely appreciate that.
No, like for real. I wouldn't have got that out of Sunflower, but good job.
I appreciate it. I think it's that I will agree with. I forget who it was who said this, but somebody said, and this is very much my position. I think I'm right. I think my ideas are better, and because I think that in a marketplace of free ideas, the better ideas will win.
That was Jason.
Oh, Jason. Yep. I'm sitting there going like, okay, I'm an atheist, and I have very specific reasons for it, and I don't want to argue with somebody that I am not properly representing their side. I just don't want to, and I don't need to, because if I'm right, we'll sort it out. The right side doesn't always win. Sometimes people fail, but on a long enough time scale, they win. So, if I'm right, I'll do good. If I'm wrong, you know what? Even better, because I'll learn something new. So.
There you go.
So I try very hard to really, I fuck it up all the time myself, but nonetheless, anyways, so thank you all for indulging me. My name is Nick. I have a YouTube channel. It's called In Time. It's youtube.com/In Time Show.
She's got it.
There it is.
Thank you so much. And we've had on Oz. We're going to have him back. We've had on, we've had on Dillahunty, Aaron Ra. We're not just because. Obviously, my beliefs inform the show, so we do deconversion stories. I find those very powerful, so I enjoy that. But we also do shows on. Oh yeah, well that's what we that's what we had on Aaron for his. I loved having him on for his.
Aaron Ra's deconversion, yeah.
Yeah. What about from a Black Pentecostal church? That'd be mine.
hit me up. I would be very, very interested in it. We're probably going to do a showing of Marjo, which I talked about last time too. So I find deconversion stories really fascinating. So please hit me up. But nonetheless,
awesome.
I really believe in these conversations. In time is a way to have conversations like that. But also we discuss philosophy. We discuss all the social sciences, civics. We have it's an educational show. But I think you'll find we do education with a good sense of humor, but we're also taking seriously the importance of being educated and understanding facts as they are. And we also do news breakdowns and breaking news. So we'll cover as news is actually happening. We cover it. So I hope you guys will consider dropping by, Amy. It was as fun as it always is. Thank you so much. So.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank
Great
you
to have
so
you on.
very much, Nick.
Thanks,
You
Nick.
Put your email in the privates for Bird.
Oh, I'll do that right now. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
And okay, only a few more left. Mark, we have been skeptic and ranting on Among Us. It's been very sus. I hope you had a good time. That was the most Gen Z thing I could possibly say.
So
Yeah, I had a blast.
Very
This
dank.
was great. Uber dank. Uber dank. No, I had a fantastic time. I want to thank everybody for chatting with me and talking with me. And yeah, this is one of my very first sort of round table conference things. So I had a fantastic time. I think that the one takeaway from the video, and I want to take this in the most gracious way possible, is the way that we sort of interact with people we see inherently as our opponents. And I think a lot of that came out later with people, throwing insults and backhanded comments and stuff like that. That, hey, we can disagree, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Especially with subjective things, we're going to disagree, and we don't have to act like, hey, that person is my enemy because they disagree with something that I think. And I think that was a big takeaway from the guy trying to tell the kids, at least at face value. You can argue if there was any underlying meaning, but hey, we don't have to treat someone like crap just because they disagree with us.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be that way. And I'd like for everybody to sort of hug it out and realize that we don't have to behave like that towards each other. And I was pressuring Will, and I hope he didn't feel pressured, and I'm really curious about Will's belief.
Oh, come on, Mark.
What?
You're too nice. Trust me, if I can handle Skylar fiction, you're like a walk in the park. My man.
Stop killing babies.
Well, hey, Skylar and his interruptions, it drives me crazy. But anyway, Skylar's good.
Don't overtalk. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, come on. But anyway, I had a blast. Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you to the audience for being great. And hopefully I will see you all again. Love you all.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you so very much, Mark. And okay, there's only, I think it's just Will, James, and myself left to go.
And then there was one.
The final one.
One ring. That was a good one. We have been skeptic and ranting Among Us. That's also a good one.
Final countdown.
It's the final countdown.
I'm a big Rocky freak, so you don't even want to get me going on that.
I mean, the joke in where I come from is we could have given it to anyone. We're Philly. We gave it to a fictional person.
I tell you what, it was like 2000, it had to be 2007. And when I went to Philadelphia with my ex at one time, it was, I had to go to Mickey's gym. But I'll tell you what, that's the scariest neighborhood I've ever been in my life.
Oh, it'll make you stronger. Probably. Who knows? And
if you live down there, you don't need the COVID vaccine. That's for sure.
That's right.
I'm just kidding. That was a joke.
Oh, you just need a good exercise for all that cholesterol with that string cheese. That's what you really need. You're going to need to climb some stairs. And okay, Will, we have been talking about a whole bunch of things, but we saw some theologians steel man our position among a bunch of other stuff. So where can people find you if they're into sports, and what are your final thoughts?
Well, I mean, if you happen to be a Tottenham Hotspur fan, just check out my channel down there. I forgot to take the back end off of that, but that's okay. Will Stewart, THFC Rants. I do sports commentary and with a comedic flair. I like to tell people I want to be the Conan O'Brien of sports commentary. So I got the ginger part going on, but the
You
rest.
don't have the hair though.
No, I'm lacking the flip. But yeah, I mean, as far as like the theological aspect of it is concerned, I find these conversations extremely entertaining and fun. I just don't understand why some Christians try to, I guess you could say, empirically prove anything when the whole point of salvation is faith. So you're kind of diluting the faith aspect of it, which is what God has intended. So if you want to do that, that's cool. That's not my thing. But I'll talk to anybody about it. So I think that's kind of what the guy in the video was getting at too, towards the end.
Yeah, I mean, if the message was that you should not judge people and this is, we should make conversation and connections, then I like his message.
I mean, that's my message too. So.
Well, that's why we
multiple layers of the onion.
For sure.
And okay. Oh my, that's a different film. And okay, Jays, we have been
wait till the back studio for that.
Hello.
On Among Us. Land us home, James.
We're coming in hot. So
yeah, that's what she said.
Every damn time, Bird. Every time. Settle down, Bird. Settle down.
Yeah, settle
down. Yeah, thanks guys for participating with us. If you watched the video at the beginning, that was pretty interesting. I wasn't aware that Oz had already seen it before, but that's a school that is probably about 5-6 miles away from where I live. So I guess it came up on my feed because it's local, but I felt we could get some use out of it, learn a few things, and get to see counter apologetics. But thanks guys for joining us, and had a good time.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! I know.
A little slow on the roll there, Amy.
I was,
expecting a longer one.
And okay.
It's
with that, I hope you all had a fun time on this episode of Skeptic and Ranting Among Us, where we watched a quote unquote atheist give a speech and take questions to a graduating Christian high school, but he seemed like a nice guy. We'll put the purity thing aside. I want to thank James W. and our special guest host, Oz, from the Atheist Network Group, and our regular guest host, Mark, Nick, Sunflower, Jason, Bird, Soldier of Science, Atheist Jr., and Will, along with all the lovely people in chat and our awesome mods who make this stream so great. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that all button icon so you can be part of our live streams for YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. And if you'd like to help us make more fun content, feel free to check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Amy Newman. I'm Amy Newman, and we'll see you all on the next episode of Skeptic Ball Z.